Rangers a strike away from winning it in both the 9th and 10th innings.
Breeze hits it in the air to center. We will see you tomorrow night.
In this, their 8th season, the Nationals not only had their first winning record, they had baseball's best overall record. And today, they host the nation's capital's first postseason game in nearly 8 decades. Welcome to this MLB Network telecast presented by Geico. We are obviously in Washington, D.C., where the Cardinals and Nationals, tied at 1 apiece, will play Game 3 of their National League Division Series on MLB Network. With Jim Cott, I'm Bob Costas. Well, having baseball's record is nice, but since the playoffs were expanded, it doesn't guarantee you all that much. In fact, since the advent of the wild card, the team with the best overall record has won it all the way through the World Series less than 20% of the time. As the Cardinals proved last year, and it was only the latest proof, any team good enough to get into the tournament is good enough to win a best-of-5 or a best-of-7 against almost anybody. And here they are, the second wild card against the team that won 98 games, but now it's down to a best 2 out of 3.
And it's a best 2 out of 3, and in my opinion, Bob, it is a big game for the Nationals. You've heard that cliche before. Today's a big one. The reason I think it's a bigger game for the Nationals than the Cardinals have come from behind. They're battle-tested. The Nationals are going against one of the best postseason pitchers in recent history.
And that's why in this game, the Cardinals appear to have the pitching edge. Steven Strasburg on the shelf, not starting any of these games. Edwin Jackson, who likely wouldn't have gotten the ball anytime before Game 4, gets it now for Game 3.
Yeah, Edwin Jackson was with the Cardinals last year, part of their World Series run. He's got great stuff, 10-11, not an impressive record, but he has done well in postseason play. Today, his challenge against the Cardinal lineup, keep the ball down, mix up his pitches. They've got a very potent attack. You're looking at a guy just off the disabled list in September. Only 3 starts, but they're going to send Chris Carpenter to the mound because of the great postseason record he has recently. Let's look back to last September when he pitched a complete game against the Astros, a 2-hitter. That clinched a wild card spot for the Cardinals. Then against his old buddy Roy Halladay, another complete game, 3-hitter. That advanced him to the NLCS. And then in Game 6 of the World Series, the winner once again.
So in this pivotal game, the Nationals send a guy who was a game under 500 for the year and is a game under 500 for his career against a former Cy Young Award winner and a guy with a 9-2 career postseason record. Jackson against Carpenter. Nats against the Cards. Back with the first pitch and the starting lineups from D.C. after this. Here's a look at the Cardinals lineup, sponsored by Geico. Only the Brewers scored more runs in the National League this year. The Cardinals have 5 guys in this lineup with 20 home runs or more. Carlos Beltran, red hot in the season's first half, tailed off a little bit until September, then got hot again at the right time, including a pair of home runs in Monday's 12-4 win that evened the series. Edwin Jackson is 29 years old. He's 6'3" and 205, a 10-year veteran who's already been with 7 teams, including the Cardinals a year ago. He had 4 postseason starts for them and an overall record of 5-2 after they acquired him in a midseason trade with the White Sox. He was actually rested and ready to pitch Game 7 of the World Series against the Rangers after he started and lost Game 4. But Tony La Russa wisely went with Chris Carpenter on 3 days rest. Carpenter won the game and the Cards won the series.
Yeah, Edwin Jackson seems like he's been around forever. He came up as a youngster with the Dodgers, always had great stuff. no team just hung on to him for a long period of time. His challenge today against this red-hot hitting Cardinal lineup, keep the ball down, mix up his pitches. Jordan Zimmerman found out you cannot get by with just your fastball.
And in fact, Jackson may be bound for his 8th team come 2013 because he's on only a 1-year contract and becomes a free agent in the offseason. John Jay coming off a huge game 2. He had a couple of hits and made a startling catch in left center field, running into the wall at full tilt to rob Danny Espinosa of an extra base hit. He has really thrived in the leadoff spot, hitting .305 overall. The first pitch today was thrown out by Frank Robinson, 77-year-old Hall of Famer, first manager of the Nationals, Baltimore Oriole teammate of Davey Johnson. And Robbie received a huge ovation here. Game 3's first pitch is high and away. The plate umpire is Joe West, who with 34 years of experience is the senior major league umpire. It's his 17th postseason series, including 4 World Series.
Both teams, Bob, will be looking at Cowboy Joe West's strike zone. Players will say, sure, you have the electronic big brother behind as Mike Matheny, Davey Johnson looks on, but you'll find out early in the game whether Joe West is going to have a pitcher-friendly strike zone or be a little more, be a little tighter.
That one's in there for a called strike. The key for Jackson, the 2-seam fastball, the sinker, to go with the good slider. If he's getting low strikes, he can be effective. But he often has trouble with his control. The Cardinals know that. They'll be patient with him, trying to get ahead on counts. Slider fouled off.
Yeah, I made it sound simple when I said keep the ball low, because the Cardinals have a number of low ball hitters, but his fastball runs better when it's down in the strike zone.
Fans ready to roar here on just about anything. And the 2-2 to Jay. Bounce towards short, and there's Desmond. Juggles it, recovers, and gets it.
Well, let's check out today's keys to the game, powered by Ram. Edwin Jackson, we talked about it already. Not just a fastball, good control of your off-speed stuff. Nationals hitters, they're rather young, they're aggressive. They have to have patience against a veteran like Chris Carpenter. Look for those pitches, their pitch, don't chase it out of the strike zone. We found out the first few games of the playoffs, you got to avoid those critical errors.
Beltran hit 2 homers right-handed on Monday from the left side against Jackson. Takes strike 1. A pop into shallow right. Backing up from second is Espinosa. Each team had trouble with the shadows in late afternoon games in St. Louis. 1 o'clock start here. Full field bathed in sunshine. No such troubles.
Our kind of game, isn't it? October, like fall classic baseball. And Davey Johnson, the Nationals manager, was saying, oh, I hope it's a 1 o'clock start, because the late afternoon starts in the fall with those shadows are miserable for everybody. Fielders, hitters, umpires.
With 2 out and nobody on, here's Holiday. Ball 1. Jackson had 2 starts against the Cardinals this year. In late August, he was brilliant. 8 innings, no earned runs, 10 strikeouts. In late September, maybe the worst outing of his career, an inning and a third, 9 runs, 6 hits, 4 walks. Take your pick. Line drive, base hit to left. And Holiday is aboard with 2 out.
Yeah, when you mentioned that pitching line against the Cardinals by Edwin Jackson, it almost made me wonder, since the Nationals were going to postseason play, if he said, I'm not going to show him my A stuff today and show him the same pattern that I'll use against him in postseason play.
Yeah, but he didn't have to show them the Z stuff and last just 1 1/3.
Yeah, that's true. But he came right back against the Phillies with a very good start.
Alan Craig at 307. 92 RBIs, but the best RBI per at-bat ratio in the entire major leagues.
Yeah, and against Alan Craig, David Freese, Holiday, you know, early in the count, most power hitters are inside conscious. They want the ball middle in where they can turn on it. So you'll probably see Jackson and Suzuki, they're going to try to keep established outside early in the count, and then maybe come inside.
1-0 pitch is ripped inside third and down the line for extra bases. Holiday on his way to third. Craig is going to have a double. The ball is loose in the corner, and they send Holiday home, and the Cardinals have a 1-0 lead. And Craig is at it again.
And again, it's location. Look at Suzuki's target. And then watch his glove reach back. That pitch, middle of the plate in. Alan Craig ready, rips it down the line.
And now let's see what Michael Morse is able to do with it. Obviously, with 2 outs, Holiday is running hard, and we weren't able to tell from that angle whether he was able to play it cleanly as it came out of the corner. RBI double for Craig. And now Yadier Molina. At age 30, he hit a career-high .315. Grounded to Desmond at short. The Cardinals will score 1 and leave 1, but the RBI double by Craig gives them a 1-0 lead after half an inning in D.C. Here's what happened on the ball that Craig hit down the line into foul territory. Morse was playing him off the line to begin with, and it didn't carry him back out. It got stuck underneath the wall, and that allowed Holiday to score from first.
Yeah, just a little space between the padded wall, the warning track, and Michael Morse thinking it might bounce toward him. It didn't. As a result, Cardinals able to score a run.
So here's Carpenter to face Worth, who will be followed by Harper and Zimmerman. Carpenter pitched reasonably well in 3 outings after the surgery to repair nerve damage in his pitching shoulder. Came back in September. His record was 0-2. Didn't get much run support. Last year at age 36, he led the league with 237 innings pitched, then threw 36 more in the postseason. Largest workload of his career.
I think it's pretty remarkable. It isn't to Mike Matheny and the Cardinals that he has even come back. Rib taken out, that thoracic outlet surgery, nerve damage in his pitching arm, but he's come back ready to go.
And a strike to Worth. Asked Matheny before the game if he was surprised that Carpenter was able to make it back. He said, I would have been with almost anybody else, but knowing the kind of rusty nail competitor he is, the way he put it, nothing about Carp surprises me. Line to center. A leadoff hit for Worth. Worth is at the top of this lineup. Ryan Zimmerman had been bothered by a balky shoulder. He got his 3rd cortisone shot of the year in late June, and his numbers skyrocketed after that.
Yeah, and then you look down the rest of the lineup. Adam LaRoche very quietly, you know, more home runs than any other first baseman in the National League. Almost an MVP type year. Not quite, but great numbers.
So there's your Nats lineup, sponsored by Geico. Worth with a leadoff hit. And Bryce Harper, still a teenager for another week or so. Turns 20 on the 16th of this month. Hit .270 with 22 home runs and was heating up again in the season's last month. The likely rookie of the year, although some votes will probably be cast for Cincinnati's Todd Frazier. 1-1. Davey Johnson is a half-century older than his phenom center fielder, but the gap is not quite that large because, as the GM Mike Rizzo puts it, Davey's a forward-thinking guy, and Harper's an old-school kind of kid.
He really is.
Left field, Holiday coming in, Kozma going out from short, and it drops untouched in foul ground.
Yeah, Davey, quick to point out, a lot of players today, because their other interests as kids, don't follow the history of baseball like a lot of us did when we were kids. But he said Harper is an exception. He has studied his baseball history, and you mentioned Davey being a forward-thinking manager. We have the oldest manager in baseball against the youngest today.
Oldest manager with a young team, youngest manager with a veteran team that is the defending world champs. The 1-2 is hit deep to right, way back, not quite to the track, and it will dive air as Beltran takes it. When it left the bat, 42,000 left their seats.
Yeah, and being a former pitcher, you take pride in recognizing that sound. When it hits, you say, uh-oh, rub up a new one. And that sure had that sound. It got too much of the plate. Chris Carpenter trying to run it inside and catch the inside corner, but Harper barreled it up, and it sure sounded better than the results were. Comes up just a little short.
Just about everybody in the park, Harper included, thought he touched one off.
Boy, would that have energized this place? Not that it needs much more.
So here's Zimmerman. Strike one. On June 24th, he was hitting .218 with 3 homers and 22 RBIs. Since then, .321 with 22 homers and 62 knocked in. Off-speed pitch misses, 1-1. There it is.
Yeah, I don't think anyone in the Washington dugout appreciates this day more than Ryan Zimmerman from the days of back-to-back 100-loss seasons.
Two balls and a strike. Chris Carpenter was the 2005 National League Cy Young Award winner, went 21-5 for the Cardinals. His career record is 144-94, and he is 9-2 in the postseason. 4 of those victories last year.
And like any pitcher that's not a power pitcher, that's not quite as location conscious, these early innings for Chris, particularly with only 3 starts in 2011, you can see him just missing. And I think if the Nationals are patient, they'll get some pitches to hit early in the game till he gets settled in.
His 2-1 to Zimmerman evens the count. At the end of last year, Carpenter won the game that got them to the wild card. He beat Roy Halladay 1-0 in Game 5 of the division series. Won another game in the LCS against the Brewers, then won 2 in the World Series against the Rangers, including Game 7. The very definition of a big game pitcher. Full count.
Just missed.
Worth, who singled to open the bottom of the first, leads away. He's going on the 3-2 pitch. It's a slow roller toward Freeze, who boots it.
Well, David Freeze, I don't know if the ball got underneath him a little bit. You know, you'd like to field it out in front. and he just maybe took his eye off it, tried to trap it in the glove before he had it. I mentioned in keys to the game, avoid critical errors. Teams are going to make errors, but it seems like so far in the playoffs, when they're made, other teams cash in on them. And boy, what an opportunity for the Nationals right now, with probably their most dependable clutch hitter in the batter's box.
RBI spot for Adam LaRoche, who knocked in an even 100. Derek Lilliquist to replace Dave Duncan as the pitching coach. Mike Matheny told us before the game that 6 innings would be just great as far as he's concerned from Carpenter today, all things considered. Plus their bullpen is set up with Mujica, Boggs, and Mott to go 7, 8, 9. 2-1. Carpenter in a first inning jam and LaRoche in a hitter's count. Worth away from second. Zimmerman from first as LaRoche steps out. And now Molina to the mound, and Matheny, a former catcher himself, told us before the game that as a first-year manager, Molina has taken so much pressure off of him because of his understanding of the pitching staff and his rapport with all the Cardinal pitchers.
Like having a manager on the field. That trip to the mound there could have been watching Worth on second. Would he have been trying to tip off location, change the signs, or just maybe to discuss how they'll go at LaRoche?
2-2.
You know, you get a veteran base runner like Worth, and these two teams play one another quite a bit. That if they could look in, if a hitter would love to know location, you can't protect both halves of the plate at the same time. But if they know the pitch is going outside or if it's coming inside, big advantage for the hitter.
Another full count. Michael Morse, the left fielder, is on deck. They come to their feet at Nationals Park. The runners are not going. LaRoche bounces one toward Descalso. They'll get one, but not two. So runners at the corners with 2 out.
Descalso, just an instant. You could see him gather the ball. He didn't quite pick it cleanly and deliver it to Kozma, and that's all it took for LaRoche to just beat the throw by that much. If he fields it cleanly, makes the exchange to Kozma, they get 2. One of those subtle little things in baseball. Doesn't show up in the box score, but Descalso, no. Boy, if I caught that out in front cleanly, we'd have been out of this inning.
Here's Michael Morse, who hit .291 with 18 homers. When you're 6'5" and 245 and put together the way this young man is, you can understand why his nickname is the Beast.
Yeah. And you can see how Molina and Carpenter with that pitch, I think especially early in the count, they will try to tantalize him and tease him with pitches out of the strike zone away from him.
Curveball misses high and away.
Chris might give an extra look at Joe West on that one, though. Maybe when it went across the plate, it was high. There's the bio on Michael Morse Bob's referring to. Built like a linebacker.
As you see, he stands deep in the box, slightly open stance, and well off the plate. They try to bust him inside, and that one barely misses. 2-1.
Not good numbers for the Nationals. In fact, I don't think a lot of teams have exceptional numbers because you're seeing good pitching here in the postseason.
Fastball fouled away. 2-2.
The pitching in general, Bob, I think when we looked at last night's game, 2-1, 2-0, over the course of the whole season has been so much better. The starting pitching better. Seems like every team, and Mike Matheny's team maybe near the top of that list, with guys out of the bullpen that just come in throwing heat, upper 90s. Jason Mott, I call him Bruce Jr. He looks a little bit like the reliever that helped pitch our team in '82 to the World Series, Bruce Sutter, that menacing looking beard.
2 on, 2 out. The 2-2 pitch, and a curveball bounce foul. Well, if Carpenter can get out of this before he's really found a groove, he'll breathe a sigh of relief, because he is just trying to find it now, and the Nationals have a shot at him.
Yeah, if he gets out of this, he'll probably say, wow, this was a good inning for me. I got to throw all my pitches, and I got loose. A warm-up inning for him.
Here's his 25th pitch of the first, and he strikes Morse out with it, and the Nationals leave 2 after 1 in game 3. 1-0 St. Louis. This MLB Network telecast is presented by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com for a free rate quote. And sponsored in part by Gillette. Great things start with Gillette. And Mazda. We believe if it's not worth driving, well, it's not worth building. A montage of chief executives throwing out first pitches. Good combination of righties and southpaws. David Freese, last year's NLCS and World Series MVP, starts it on the Cardinals' second. Chris Carpenter was able to work around Freese's error in the first.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the I guess I don't know if it'd be proper to say acoustics for a day game, but one of the things you really appreciate about the day game, one of many sitting here, you hear the vendors. Remember in the old days you went to a day game and you'd hear, hey, hot dogs, peanuts, and you could hear the vendors. You can hear them here at Nationals Park. Not a lot of rock music going on.
This one is ripped to left. It'll drop for at least a single. Let's see if Freese wants to try for 2. He's on his way for a double and in there standing.
Let's check out the location again. Suzuki wants it outside. No, just like Craig. And Davey Johnson had mentioned that he has got to keep the ball down and away and mix up his pitches, control of his off-speed pitches early in the count. You leave that ball middle in to these Cardinal right-hand hitters. Most of the time they'll make you pay for it, like Freese did there.
Well, this is the whole deal with Jackson. It isn't just walks, and this year actually his walk rate, about 3 per 9 innings, was the best of his career. But it's how often he either pitches behind in the count or leaves pitches out over the plate too fat. A perfect example with Jackson is that he once pitched a no-hitter when he was with the Diamondbacks against one of his old teams, the Rays. A 1-0 game in which he walked 8 and hit a guy. That was his no-hitter.
Right.
In a sense, typical Edwin Jackson. Descalso, robbed of a home run in game 1 on a leaping grab by Jason Worth. Hit one where no one could catch it in game 2. Fastball off the plate.
Looking down at Jose Aquindo for a sign, but Descalso knows his job right here with 1 run on the board already is to pull that ball to the first base side and advance the runner to third. And
fouls this one to the seats and left.
As a result, Jackson and Suzuki will Try to pitch him away. Now, a lot of good veteran hitters in this situation, they'll get right up on top of the plate. And they'll make that outside pitch appear that it's down the middle, so they can get out there and hook it and at least get a ground ball to the right side and advance the runner.
That one's blocked by Suzuki, who has done a good job behind the plate in this series, saving his pitching staff several wild pitches already.
Well, I have watched him behind the plate, and he was trained well. I know Bob Brenly, a former catcher, doing the games on TBS with Dick Stockton. We saw that game and watched how Suzuki, his body, the way he can shift his body over and keep the ball in front of him, very impressive.
Did he hold up? 2-2 the count.
Boy, and that's a pitch. I mean, it's out of the strike zone, but that's a pitch, not a fastball, where he could get some of the bat on it and pull it. That's what he's trying to do right here.
Full count. And Freese back to second. Suzuki was acquired in a trade with the A's. Wilson Ramos, their regular catcher, had been on the DL for a while, so Suzuki was an important late season pickup. Jackson checks Freese and works to Descalso, who lines it to left center field, and it falls in front of Morse. Freese is going to stop at third, and the Cardinals have 2 on with nobody out.
Well, let's check out the Nationals in the field behind Edwin Jackson. Out in the outfield, beast Michael Morse and Bryce Harper in center. Jason Worth over in right. Gold Glover Ryan Zimmerman at third. It's very slick up the middle with Ian Desmond and Danny Espinosa. Adam LaRoche at first. And we've been talking about Kurt Suzuki, the fine catcher. He's behind the plate.
So here's Pete Kozma taking over at shortstop for the injured veteran Rafael Furcal. Talk about stepping up your game. Most of the season he was at AAA and didn't hit all that well. But he's hit .333 in the big leagues. And he launches this one to left. Morse going back, looking up, and it's gone. The big leagues apparently agree with Pete Kozma. In 72 at-bats during the regular season, he had 10 extra base hits. 2 of them homers, and he hit .333. And here he puts the Cardinals in front 4-0.
We've been talking about their 2 through 5 hitters with Beltran and Holiday and Freese and Craig, and here comes Pete Kozma, a guy the Cardinals didn't even plan on. And again, another fastball, middle of the plate in. You can throw strikes, but they have to be in the right place, and that was a no-doubter. What a big blow for Pete Kozma, and gives now Chris Carpenter a 4-run cushion.
The Cardinals have sent 8 hitters to the plate, now 9, and that base hit by Carpenter means that the Cardinals are 6 for 9 off Edwin Jackson. We talked with the GM Mike Rizzo before the game. He was adamant that he has no second thoughts about shutting Steven Strasburg down despite all the critics. But unless they can turn this game around, they're going to hear it.
Oh, no
if
question.
they're down 2-1 and Ross Detweiler starts game 4 and Steven Strasburg has not been heard from in the postseason, and if with the best record in all of baseball they make an early exit, it's not going to be pleasant here.
Yeah, there is Steven Strasburg watching, and Steven Strasburg has the best power control combination of any starter in the big leagues this year. In addition to those numbers, you see the strikeouts and innings pitched. He strikes out more hitters than he allows base runners. And he obviously the Nationals are sticking with their decision, but we've talked about that. If they fall behind 2-1, or if they don't get to the big dance, Mike Rizzo's going to hear a lot of those things, but he is committed. He has stuck to it, and he has no second thoughts about it.
A brief visit from the pitching coach, Steve McCatty. Back to the top for John Jay, who grounded a short to start the game. Ball one. Jackson was 10-11 for the year, but in his 31 starts, the Nats were just 12-19. This for a team that won 98 games. 12-19 with Jackson starting, a percentage of .387. 86-45 when everybody else starts, a percentage of .656.
Yeah, and no disrespect for, you mentioned Ross Detweiler tomorrow. I love the arsenal that Ross Detweiler has. A left-hander out of the St. Louis area. Hard thrower with a good sink, and no question he's an outstanding pitcher. But boy, if they go out early, they will scratch their heads and say, what would have it been like if we had Steven Strasburg pitching a game or two?
And they begin to stir in the Nationals' pen much earlier than Johnson and McCatty would like. The 2-0 from Jackson to Jay. Breaking ball, hit down at first. LaRoche fields it, gets the force, back to him, double play. And boy, did Jackson need that.
A little display of disagreement by John Jay. Nice play by LaRoche. Gives Desmond an accurate feed and just nipped Jay at first base.
So here's Beltran, who popped to second in his first at bat. And this one is grounded to second, and Espinosa puts a finish to the top half of the second inning. But not before the 3-run shot by Kozma puts Jackson and the Nats in a 4-0 hole. Four Division Series games today and tonight. This one on MLB Network. The next two, Giants and Reds, Orioles and Yankees on TBS. And then it concludes at 9:37 Eastern Time with the Tigers and A's on TNT. Chris Carpenter, staked to a 4-0 lead, will face Desmond, Espinosa, and Suzuki in the bottom of the second.
First time for the national audience to get a look at this young man. He's become, you don't want to stretch it and say he's there yet, but he is to the Nationals what Derek Jeter is to the Yankees. The way his teammates rave about it and the improvement he's made.
The only shortstop to slug better than .500 in the major leagues this year. Small sample, but 4 for 7 lifetime against Chris Carpenter.
But you'll hear veterans like Ryan Zimmerman talk about what Desmond has meant to this team.
Serves this one into shallow right. Beltran won't get there. Sam Ryan is with us, and she's got some information on Chris Carpenter. Sam?
Yeah, Bob, earlier you guys were talking about the thoracic outlet syndrome that Chris Carpenter had, that so-called season-ending surgery. Not only did he have a rib removed, he told me he had 2 neck muscles removed, but interesting fact, he told me that Matt Harrison of the Texas Rangers had a similar surgery a couple of years ago and was back to throwing within 2 months. So essentially, he said that got his clock going. He said he heard 2 months and said, I have to beat that. And that's just an example of that big game pitcher, warrior mentality that Chris Carpenter brings to the mound, guys.
Thanks, Sam. Espinosa fouls the first pitch back. There are the numbers on the switch hitting second baseman.
Yeah, 4-run lead with several teams. You might, if you're Mike Matheny, you might say, well, boy, that's a nice cushion. But both of these teams, we often use the term American League type teams, lineups, because in the American League you have a designated hitter. So you've got some guys who hit a lot more home runs, extra base hits, and both these teams are capable of that.
The Cardinals have had kind of a feast or famine attack. They have a losing record in one-run games and a huge advantage in so-called blowout games. Here's the bunt by Espinosa, pushed toward Freese, who barehands it, throws, and gets him. The crowd doesn't approve, but the call was correct by the veteran first base umpire Jim Joyce. Davey Johnson wants a word.
Well, John Jay thought he had beaten the throw on the double play ball that he hit. And now Davey comes out to take up the argument with Jim Joyce on the bunt attempt by Espinosa. Barehand pick by Freese. And let's just look at it. Jim Joyce only gets one look.
You know what? I might have been wrong. And Joyce might have been wrong too. With the naked eye from here, it looked like he was out. But I'm not so sure anymore.
Yeah, anytime they're that close.
He's safe.
Yeah.
He's safe.
Is he? I don't know if his foot's on the bag, but anytime they're that close, you really can't quite. We get 3-4 looks at it. Now, Espinosa gets credited with a sacrifice, but that wasn't designed to be a sacrifice. You're 4 runs down, looking at the bottom of the lineup. You're trying to bunt for a base hit. You're not interested in getting the man over and getting 1 run.
Well, Jim Joyce, who has umpired in 14 postseason series, including 2 World Series, had a close call, may have missed it.
Yeah, sure looked from that angle. Yeah, and
Espinosa signaling
he called
safe.
himself safe.
Joyce punched him out. And now the 0-2 to Suzuki.
Jim Joyce, one of the more respected umpires in Major League Baseball, no stranger to controversial calls at first base.
Well, the Galarraga near perfect game, the perfect game that wasn't, that left Joyce in tears the next day when he realized he had missed the call on what should have been the 27th consecutive out recorded by the Detroit right-hander.
Very nicely handled by Galarraga. Very classy.
In on his fists, another chance for Freese across the diamond, this time no doubt.
Now, no sooner we talk about it, and our crack crew, they come up with it. Here it is. Would have been 27th out.
That was Cabrera at first base. Ranging for the pickup. Galarraga covers. He's got him.
Yeah, the neat thing, Galarraga smiled about it. I mean, can you imagine? You think you pitched a perfect game, he misses a call, and you're able to smile about it and say, hey, there's bigger things in life.
Here's Edwin Jackson, who's a good hitter. Career 200 hitter. 228 this year. Terrific all-round athlete growing up in Georgia. Played football, basketball, actually drafted as an outfielder in baseball before turning to pitching. So he can swing the bat and maybe help himself here. As I said, Jackson grew up, played his high school ball in Georgia, actually was born in Germany, spent his early childhood years there. His dad was a military man. One and two. And foul back. You know, you think about an excellent veteran umpire like Jim Joyce. You do so many things right. You miss a big one in a big spot, like Don Denkinger, one of the best umpires of his time in the American League, misses the call in Game 6 of the '85 series, and that ultimately, it's the lot of an umpire. That's what you're remembered for.
Yeah.
2-2.
Well, you could tell Chris Carpenter has respect for Edwin Jackson because he quickly got him 0-2. You know, with a light hitting pitcher as a pitcher, you're saying, well, I don't want to waste any more. Here it is. But he's very cautious about making a good pitcher's pitch against Edwin Jackson.
A pop-up called for by Kozma. And that'll do it in the bottom of the second. It remains 4-0 St. Louis.
The Rangers a strike away from winning it in both the 9th and 10th innings.
Freeze hits it in the air to center. We will see you tomorrow night.
That home run by David Freese, called by Joe Buck in tribute to his dad, Jack Buck, helped the Cardinals win their 11th World Series, most of any National League team. They've won 18 pennants. And you know, it's interesting. This is the 9th time since 2000 that the Cardinals have been in the postseason. They had a number of teams under Tony La Russa that actually were better than the 06 team that won the World Series, or last year's team that came from 10.5 back to grab a wild card on a crazy last night and then somehow rode that streak all the way through to the World Series.
Yeah, some think, what is it with the Cardinals? Do they just all of a sudden turn it on? But it is not necessarily the team with the best record. It's the team that plays the best.
Sharply hit by Holiday, leadoff single, his second of the game.
I would think maybe 1 or 2 more of those, and Davey's going to say, well, Edmund doesn't have his command of his fastball. Isn't really getting much chance to throw his breaking pitches because the Cardinals are teeing off on the fastball. So I would think that bullpen will be up again soon.
Bring this up not to harp on it, but it is a significant factor in this series. In talking to Mike Rizzo, he said, look, Steven Strasburg had 27 starts, and 13 of them we sent him out on long rest, 5, 6, 7 days, sometimes one time almost 2 weeks before and after the All-Star game. Here's Alan Craig, whose RBI double started the scoring for the Cardinals in the first, and we just felt that we couldn't jerk him around, start him in May, put him on the disabled list, work him in out of the bullpen. We just couldn't do it. We were going to get to 160 innings, and that was going to be it. And no matter how this postseason turns out, I'm not going to second guess my decision or the organization's position on Steven Strasburg. But as Jackson gets knocked around here in game 3, you know what a lot of these 42,000 are thinking in this ballpark. For whatever it may be worth, Strasburg had 1 start against the Cardinals. It came here in D.C. on September 2nd. 6 shutout innings, 9 strikeouts, 2 hits. And that Strasburg's just like the real one, a spectator. The 1-1 to Craig. Talked about the Cardinals' feast or famine attack. Counting their 12-4 win in game 2 of this series, they're 32-17 in games decided by 5 runs or more, but 21-27 in 1-run games and 6-12 in extra inning games.
Nobody better in those categories than the team that'll play tonight against the Yankees, the Baltimore Orioles.
Craig spoils that one. So true to form, in game 1 of this series, the Cardinals managed just 3 hits and lose a 1-run game.
Right.
In game 2, they scored 12 runs and hit 4 home runs and win by 8. They scored 10 or more runs 17 times this year, most in the National League. Second in the majors to Texas's 18. And another 1-2 pitch to Craig. Struck him out. First strikeout for Jackson.
Yeah, maybe the best pitcher's pitch that Edwin Jackson has thrown today. See, there's the pitch down with some movement. To Craig, maybe about 10 feet in front of the plate. It looked like it might be knee high. And he had that good late movement to it.
So here's Molina, who, counting his ground out in the first, is 8 for 13 lifetime against Edwin Jackson. 2 of those 8 hits, home runs.
And again, watching the game in St. Louis, and former catcher Bob Brenly making comments about how Molina has improved as a situational hitter. Situations like this where he can hit it the other way. You know, there's a time to look for a pitch and drive it, and what I think makes Javier Molina a dangerous hitter here, kind of like Pudge Rodriguez was in his prime, is he can use the whole field. So if Matheny would opt to start the runner, Molina's the kind of guy that can poke it the other way.
And Yachty might be baseball's best defensive catcher since Irod.
Yes.
Who played briefly here for the Nationals toward the end of his career. In fact, was the catcher the night Steven Strasburg made his debut and struck out 14 Pirates.
300 hitter.
With a career high 22 home runs. Holiday a short lead at first.
Yeah, Edwin not in a very good rhythm right now. Very lethargic, very deliberate. Early in the game, sometimes a pitcher has scouting report-itis. You've been in those meetings and you say, well, you can't throw it here, you got to throw it there. You tend to overthink a little bit. As the expression these days is, Mike Matheny used it, we want to see how the ball's coming out of his hand. You know, if you're nice and loose and relaxed like you're playing catch with your buddy in the neighborhood and the ball comes out of your hands, got a little nice rotation to it, late bite, and Jackson has not had that yet except for the pitch to Craig.
Breaking ball wrapped to short. There's one. There's two. Holiday's leadoff single goes to waste for the Cards, but they lead it 4-0 in the middle of the third. Check out the MLB pre-play app to predict the outcome of every play of every game live this postseason. Earn points with correct predictions, chat with other fans, and win prizes on MLB Pre-Play, the official prediction game of Major League Baseball. Download for free now on your iPhone and iPad. Although the score doesn't please them, this picture-perfect October day has to. The fans here, 42,000 of them at Nationals Park, for the first postseason game here since the New York Giants beat the old Washington Senators in Game 5 of the 1933 World Series at Griffith Park. Jason Worth lofts one to shallow right. Here's Beltran toward the line, and he has to make a running catch. That ball was tailing away from him, and it appeared in fair territory as he lunged to take it about shin high.
What a great play. I mean, he gauged it perfectly. He didn't accelerate at all. He wanted to keep his eye on the ball, which he did, and the decision there was, do I dive and slide like Hunter Pence, who made that great catch in Cincinnati last night? But no, he used those long arms, just reached down and knew the stands were right there. That's an outstanding. We have seen in division games some outstanding plays by outfielders. Pence, Jay, Coco Crisp, even though a costly error, he took a home run away from Prince Fielder last night, and there's another one.
Ball one to Bryce Harper. Let's bring in Sam Ryan. Sam.
Yeah, Bob and Jim, if you take a look at Bryce Harper and his eyes in particular, he's wearing red tinted contact lenses. Almost looks like something out of the Twilight movie. They're basically sunglasses. I'm told the outfield here at Nationals Park, the sun gets pretty intense for day games. And if you remember, Ryan Dempster used to wear those back when he was with the Cubs, but he's wearing those red tinted contact lenses. A little freaky looking, guys, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought maybe he just wore them to be color coordinated with his uniform.
But if you asked him, is that a freaky thing to do, he might say, hey, that's a clown question, bro.
Yeah, right.
Just Bryce being Bryce.
He is some talent, and Davey does such a great job of just not putting any reins on him. Let him play with that youthful exuberance.
Left center field, Holiday and Jay, and it's Holiday. You know, I asked Davey before the game, did you say anything to Bryce Harper when in game 2, almost back to back, he hustled a single into a double, but then tried to advance to third base on an errant throw from Holiday in left field when his team was down 4 runs. He said, no, that's just the way he plays. He and I have an understanding. I don't want to put any kind of shackles on his exuberance, his instincts. He's getting better and better about understanding game situations and also understanding that major leaguers are a different kind of competition than the competition he dominated at earlier stages of his career. So sometimes he has to be careful. Zimmerman hits one to right, and this time Beltran cannot get there. So it's a 2-out hit.
Yeah, I thought Davey made such an interesting comparison there going back to Harper. He said he's used to playing against junior college players that wouldn't make the kind of plays that they made on him in St. Louis. But now he's with guys in the big league, and they make those plays, and he's learning them.
Well, he served notice after Cole Hamels kind of welcomed him to the big leagues because some people didn't like Harper's swagger for a teenager. So Hamels admittedly plunked him on purpose. So Harper goes to first. Later in the same inning, winds up at third. Hamels throws a little lazy pickoff over to first base, and Harper takes off and steals home. And everybody, including Hamels, said, fine.
Yeah.
Yep, you proved yourself. We respect that. LaRoche grounded into a force play his first time up.
Well, Adam LaRoche has been able to come to the plate now in a couple of at-bats where he can do some damage and get the Nationals back in this game.
Down and in. A ball and a strike.
You can see what the Cardinals do to shift the third baseman 13 feet, 22 feet, 19, opposed to straightaway. They really play him around the pull on the infield, somewhat straightaway in the outfield, not exaggerated pull.
Well hit, right center field, but Jay will track it down. No runs ahead, a man is left. Through 3, Carpenter has a 4-0 lead. This MLB Network telecast is sponsored in part by the MLB Authentic Collection. Celebrate your team's postseason berth by gearing up in the new 2012 postseason side patch cap and 2012 postseason hoodie. Find it all at MLBshop.com. Freese had a double his first time up.
Like one of the first breaking pitches that Edwin Jackson has thrown for a strike. You mentioned the hoodie and the equipment, and boy, was it a shock for me breaking in this city in 1959 when there wasn't much to get excited about, to see the number of people in D.C. walking around with their Nationals gear on.
Well, you were part of those Senator teams about which the cliche applied. Washington, first in war, first in peace, and last in the American League. And just when they were putting together a good young team, Killebrew and Allison and yourself and Camilo Pascual, that's when they up and moved to Minnesota and became a contender, and immediately an expansion team named the Senators replaced them.
Right.
That team eventually became the Texas Rangers, and while they never did much during the 60s and early 70s in the standings, they did have Frank Howard.
And they had Ted Williams for a manager briefly.
Yep. And Ted went with them to Texas.
Yeah, they had Frank Howard, the capital punisher, they called him.
Check swing by Freese. And Jackson records his second strikeout.
He's getting organized now. I don't know how much longer Davey can go with him. He's due to hit 5th next inning, but you know, the mistakes he made early on cost him 4 rounds. Now suddenly look at the pitch to Freese. Gets ahead, breaking ball, gets him to chase it out of the strike zone. Never got himself in that position the first time through the batting order. Cardinals took advantage of it.
Descalso singled and scored back in the second inning. Rode home on the 3-run homer by Pete Kozma, who's on deck. If the Nationals don't come back and win this game, they'll be pushed to the brink in a best-of-5 series. Since the advent of the wild card, the team with the best record in baseball in a given season has won the World Series only 3 of 17 times. That's just under 18%.
Wow.
On average, the World Series champion has won about 95 games, just shy of 95, 94 and a fraction, while on average the best team in baseball in any given year has won 102. Descalso gets under one, lofts it to deep right. Worth goes back and takes it in front of the fence.
I never realized what a nice pitcher's park this is. You know, that ball's gone in a lot of parks. Yankee Stadium, it's 30 rows deep.
Yeah.
Well, that's almost like the Sports Illustrated jinx on the cover. What you say, you don't want the best record in baseball. 335 out there at the just inside the foul pole.
Here's Kozma, who drove one out of here to left, a 3-run homer in the second, and he takes a strike. It's 336 down the left field line here, 335 to the corner and right, 370 to right center, 377 to the gap in left center, and 402 to straightaway center field.
There's one of the more. There's Kozma's home run, and speaking of dimensions, there's a pitch way inside where he could barrel it up and turn on it. Talking about dimensions, the longest home run in this city was at Old Griffith Stadium by Mickey Mantle off Chuck Stobbs, and it was 350 down the line.
But the ball was measured at 565 feet. There's a bit of mythology attached to it, and exactly how accurate the measurement was is open to debate. But what the heck?
It's a good story.
When the facts conflict with the legend, as they said in Liberty Balance, print the legend. And so the tape measure homer was born. And if Mickey didn't hit that one 565, he probably hit another one that distance someplace.
At least.
The 2-2 to Kozma. Runs the count out full.
This again is one of those at bats as a manager. If you're Mike Matheny, you said, boy, you'd love to see Kozma just get on base. Ozzie Smith did such a great job for us in 1982, clearing the pitcher. You know, you get on base right now with 2 out, you get the pitcher out. That means that even if Carpenter doesn't get a hit, you lead off with your leadoff hitter.
Well, that won't happen. 2 strikeouts in the inning, 3 in the game for Jackson. The question is he getting it together too late? Welcome back to this MLB Network telecast presented by Geico with Jim Cobb and Sam Ryan, Bob Costas in Washington, D.C., where the Nationals come up in the 4th, down 4 to Chris Carpenter and the Cardinals. In one sense, the Cardinals must feel at home. The stands are a sea of red, just like it always is at Busch Stadium. Morse starts it, struck out swinging to end the first. Curveball drops in for a strike. Fastball skied into foul ground. Freeze takes it. Between innings, we spoke with Mike Matheny, and topic one was Chris Carpenter.
Yeah, Bob, I think he just needed to get a feel for the mound again. I know you got to keep remembering he hasn't had that many innings this season, even though he's had a lot through his career. But it doesn't take him long to really find his tempo and kind of his timing. And it looks like he's getting a little closer now.
Yeah, Mike, I mentioned that was a good warm-up for Chris, even though he got out of it. However, throwing that many pitches, does that mean you'll keep a closer eye on him here in the 5th, 6th inning?
Yeah, Jim, we're watching him close, and we know that he's not one to take the ball away from himself. He wants it, and he wants to stay out there as long as he can. But we also know that we need to watch because all things aren't even right now. He's in a different spot during the season, but we know that when we get him out there, we got a pretty good shot, but we'll keep a close eye.
Looks like Pete Kozma's a guy who likes the big stage. All of his numbers are better in the bigs than in the minors.
Yeah, it's impressive, and what timing for us too with Rafael Furcal going down. It's been a great addition for us, and he keeps getting big hits and making the plays in the field and everything you'd ask for a young player to do when he gets the opportunity.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, guys.
Well, as Matheny talked about his shortstop Kozma, the Nationals shortstop Ian Desmond doubles to right center. He's now 2 for 2, and up comes Danny Espinosa. As Desmond stands at second, he's 6 for 10 in the series. Coming into his own as a true star following a season that saw him hit .292 with 25 homers. Espinosa pops one into shallow left. Holiday coming in, and there's the second out.
Nationals getting action in their bullpen because should Suzuki get on, certainly David Johnson's going to go to his bench. Maybe Chad Tracy and pinch hit for Jackson. Looks like Roger Bernardina has moved into the on-deck circle, another left-hand hitter.
But if Suzuki doesn't reach, it's likely that Jackson will go out for the 5th.
Yeah, he's really, early in the game, sometimes a pitcher, particularly Jackson against the Cardinals, you get wrapped up in the scouting report. I got to pitch this guy. You're not really loose and relaxed, and you don't make the pitcher's pitches. He's a different pitcher these last couple of innings. Well, like Mike Matheny said, you give Chris Carpenter a little time to get used to the mound and the fact that he hasn't pitched much, and he begins to get a little sharper, and that's certainly true in the last couple innings for Chris.
Carpenter has struck out only 1, but he hasn't walked anybody. He's allowed 4 hits. Hits solidly to center. Back goes Jay, shading his eyes against the sun and making the catch. So Desmond doubles with 1 out, but he's left at second, and the Nationals are still left with a 4-run deficit. This MLB Network telecast is sponsored in part by Degree Men Adrenaline Series. Lasts longer because it works more when you move. Who knew? And by the U.S. Army. There's strong, then there's Army Strong. Learn more about the strength behind the uniform at GoArmy.com. And Expedia. Save on your next trip by booking your flight and hotel together. expedient. Chris Carpenter had an opposite field single in his only at bat. Starts the Cardinal fifth. Shows bunt with Zimmerman charging in from third. And takes ball one. Carpenter is only a 118 career hitter. But in the category of random sample, he's now 3 for 6 lifetime against Edwin Jackson.
And I guess Jackson has great respect for that. He's just fallen behind him 2-0. I think the last one was a breaking pitch.
That one's in there.
As you were reading the billboard, we saw images of those great old ballparks, of one of which I've no surprise thrown a couple of home runs out of Griffith Stadium to actually I got the pitch to Ted Williams there, but some of the old ballparks that Washington played.
Look at this. This ball is cranked to left and it's off the top of the wall. Very nearly got out. Chris Carpenter owns Edwin Jackson. A leadoff double.
Man, a 118 hitter. Everybody has their nemesis.
That ball was smoked.
It was. It looked like a breaking pitch. It was. It was the old proverbial hanging slider, the one that tumbled up there with no bite, right up in Carpenter's eyes, and it looked good to him, and it was.
A single and a double in this game. 4 for 7 lifetime against Edwin Jackson. No laughing matter, though, as far as the Nationals are concerned. Already down 4-0. Here's Jay, 0 for 2. Shows bunt and fouls it off.
Continue to be surprised at watching big league hitters sometimes try to execute the bunt. I had a great teacher that ironically played for the Senators, George Case. John Jay never got the bat out in front of the plate. You know, the bat was angled toward the third base dugout, and that's where the ball went.
Looks to get it down again. This time pushes it toward first. Jackson up with it. They record the putout. But on to third goes Carpenter on the successful sacrifice.
Now let's see how the Nationals and Davey Johnson play it. Now you can't afford to give up another run, really, that 5th run, and they're going to bring the infield in, even though they know that Chris Carpenter's not a speedster over at third base. So I see Desmond moving back a little bit, and he made a terrific play in game 1 from that position, force out at home. So they're going to give Carpenter a little leeway, play back at second and short.
Yeah, they're up, but not quite as up as the classic infield in situation.
And I'm sure Jose Aquindo, going over to Chris Carpenter, says make the ball go through. He doesn't want Carpenter running into any kind of a collision at home plate. So the theory here is make the ball go through to the outfield on the ground before you decide to run for home plate.
2-0 to Beltran with Holiday on deck. For curious minds out there, Chris Carpenter has just over 500 career plate appearances. Began his career in Toronto, so that was the DH league. Many at-bats in the National League with the Cardinals. He has 8 doubles and 2 home runs. Almost had his 3rd career home run. Missed it by about a foot moments ago. He's at third with 1 out. And it's 3-0 now to Beltran.
Yeah, this looks like one of those intentional walks. You got a right-hand hitter coming up next with 1 out, and they're saying to Beltran, if you want to chase something in the dirt, go ahead.
On 4 pitches, he strolls to first. You saw Steve McCaddy, the pitching coach, behind Davey Johnson on the horn again to the pen. Stammen is up once more. Holiday has a pair of singles. Bounces this one fair. There's a play at second, but not at first.
That's
that kind of played out in slow motion as Zimmerman grabbed it.
Yeah, it's a good thing Holiday ran. It looked like he was going to hold up as if the ball was fouled. I don't know if he's looking at Chris Carpenter saying, why didn't you go? But if you're Chris Carpenter, you can't go on that ball. You know, if you do, Zimmerman's going to get the lead out. So Beltran, now let's watch Matt Holiday out of the box. You got to start running, Matt. You run hard till they call it foul.
There's no reason not to run.
And he's fortunate he got to first base, or the Nats could have got out of the inning.
So now here's Craig, who has an RBI double and then struck out swinging. Trailing 4-0. And with 2 on and 1 out, you might have thought that the Nationals would go to the bullpen right here, but they're asking Jackson to get them out of this, and then they'll pinch hit for him in the bottom half of the inning. The 9th spot is due first in the bottom half.
And both these teams have outstanding bullpens. The difference is the Nationals come in with guys that throw hard, but they have a lot of sinking action. The Cardinals come in with Boggs and Mott, and Lynn won't be used today, but it's just straight fire. High fastballs up at the upper 90s.
Jackson's 1-1 to Craig. Is fouled back. Alan Craig hit 400 with runners in scoring position this year. The best mark in the majors, and as we noted earlier, he also had the most RBIs per time at bat of any hitter in the major leagues.
Edwin Jackson giving this crowd a little something to get excited about now, coming back pitching well. If Craig's going to beat Alan Jackson in this at bat, I think he's going to have to poke it to right field. Jackson's finally beginning to get command of that outside corner.
Carpenter at third, Holiday at first, and a 1-2 pitch coming to Alan Craig. He got him. Undoubtedly Jackson's last pitch. It results in his 4th strikeout. But while in there, he yielded 4 runs, and his team trails 4-0.
Well, the Cardinal bats were hot early, but let's take a look at who kept their cool. Edwin Jackson. Came back to strike out Craig. Who kept their cool is presented by Degree.
Edwin Jackson is now done. Roger Bernardina pinch hits for him. Chris Carpenter has allowed 1 hit in each of the first 4 innings, but no runs. The book on Jackson: 5 innings pitched, 8 hits, 4 runs, all of them earned. Walked 1, struck out 4. Bernardina at the plate hit a career high .291 this year. Although his playing time has decreased over the last few years. Davey picking his spots and obviously picking them well, putting him in situations where he's likely to succeed, and a career high .291.
Roger Bernardina, a product of the Netherlands baseball program. Great baseball program over there. He's from Curacao, like Andrew Jones and many of the players that play on the Dutch team.
Stays alive. He is one of the few Nationals with any ties to their predecessors, the Montreal Expos. He was originally drafted by the Expos as a teenager. And some still remember the team from north of the border. The team that actually was on the verge of going to the postseason in 1994 when the strike hit. The team of Gary Carter and Andre Dawson and Tim Raines, Ellis Valentine. Bernardina with a fly ball to right. Easy chance for Beltran. Well, as we said at the beginning, Kitty, you talk about best of 5. That's something of a crapshoot. During the course of a season, the team with the worst record in baseball might win 3 out of 5 from the best team in baseball. Now you have 2 playoff teams. Yeah, the Nationals are favored, but not by much.
No, well, that's the additional wild card. You know, the Cards wouldn't have had a chance to repeat like they did last year, but with the additional wild card, they finished well. 88 wins, 10 fewer than the Nationals, but they have proven. That's why I think today is such a big game for Washington. The Cardinals can lose, and they're accustomed to coming back.
Worth has singled and then was robbed of a hit on a running catch along the right field line by Carlos Beltran. Well, the Cardinals finished 9 back of the Reds in their own division, 6 back of the Braves for what would have been, prior to this year, the only wild card. They had 10 fewer wins than the team they're playing here in the division series, and they're on the verge of taking a 2-1 lead in a best of 5 for their rookie manager Mike Matheny, who turned 42 a couple of weeks ago. Davey Johnson, now the oldest manager in the game at age 69, was 43 when he had his high point as a manager, when his Mets had an unbelievable season and postseason. Playoffs against the Astros and then World Series against the Red Sox to win it all. You talk about a guy whose whole life, like you, is a slice of baseball history.
Yeah.
Davey Johnson played on pennant winners and 2 World Series winners, managed the Mets to the World Series championship. Worth thought he had the walk, but has to turn around and come back.
Yeah, in fact, that would be a big walk, because Mike Matheny told us he's going to keep a closer eye on Chris Carpenter, and you start missing pitches up in the strike zone. That certainly looked like a good strike, and it was.
From a pitcher's standpoint, it was at the knees, and that one does miss outside. And Worth, who is hitting leadoff despite his history of power, because his on-base percentage is nearly 400, has a 1-out walk. But back to Davey Johnson. Here's a guy who got the last base hit ever yielded by Sandy Koufax, who was a teammate of Frank and Brooks Robinson, of Hank Aaron, played in Japan with Sadaharu Oh, managed the U.S. Olympic team, managed the Netherlands national team, has had 13 full seasons as a big league manager and finished first or second 12 of those 13 times, has taken 4 teams to the postseason: the Mets, the Reds, the Orioles, and now the Nationals.
Quite a resume.
Seems like a Hall of Fame
manager. Could well be.
Track record, right?
Key situation right here for the Cardinals and Chris Carpenter, these next couple of hitters.
The 0-1 to Harper is popped up. Kozma calls. 2 out.
Man, how many fly ball outs or pop up? I mean, Chris Carpenter, sometimes pitchers and catchers will call it pitching backwards, but it's really pitching the right way. He drops the curve in early, and then all of a sudden when they get kind of looking for the breaking pitches, then he comes with that, say, fastball that's 89, but then it looks like it's 95. So, you know, oftentimes early in the count, pitchers are tempted to just go fastball, fastball. He's varied his pattern now this 3rd time through the batting order.
I count 9 fly ball or pop-up outs through 4 2/3.
And Mike Matheny said he will not give you the ball. We'll have to make a decision to take it out of his hand, because this is only his 4th start, and he's had to labor through I don't think he's had a clean inning yet. So a 1, 2, 3 inning. So they're gonna watch him very closely, hitter to hitter.
Zimmerman has reached on an error and singled. By the way, after popping out for the 2nd out of this inning, Bryce Harper is now 1 for 13 in his first postseason series. Likely not to be his last. For those who wondered, when the Nationals clinched the division and they were spraying and imbibing champagne, Harper, just to make sure everything was on the up and up, celebrated with apple cider.
Still a minor.
Had the same appearance as the champagne, but not the same effect.
Nice block.
Nice block by Molina. 2-2.
Seeing probably the best defensive catcher in that. See, he's not making any attempt to really catch that ball. Just move his body out there, keep it in front of him. Nobody does it better than he does.
Hit sharply into left for a 2-out hit. And on his way to third and making it his worth, even though the play was in front of him, and they trail 4-0. So it's aggressive play on the base hit by Zimmerman.
Like he got a pitch middle in, hit it past Freeze, and again, Adam LaRoche, the Nationals are going to say his third-time charm. This is the third time he's come up with a chance to do some damage. First at bat with 2 men on, next at bat with a man on, and now here 2 on, 2 out.
As you can see on the replay, Holliday was so deep in left that even though the ball was sharply hit with 2 out, Worth had every intention of making it to third base and did. LaRoche has grounded out and flied out.
Sometimes the last out of the game for a pitcher comes in the middle of the game, and I would say that's what it is right here for Chris Carpenter. If he gets Adam LaRoche out, the next inning you move toward the bottom of the Nationals batting order, and I'm sure Mike Matheny would get the bullpen up first sight of trouble.
Breaking ball drops in. 0-2.
See, that's the challenge of facing Chris Carpenter. 3 or 4 different pitches. Nice curve ball there. Throws a cutter. All of them are about 8 to 10 miles an hour difference. Got a lot of options here. He can blow the fastball up and in and throw another one in the dirt.
LaRoche wouldn't bite. 1-2.
Davey Johnson had told us, he said, I want to see our hitters look for pitches in the zones that they like to hit and not chase pitchers' pitches. And this is one of those cases right here. If LaRoche could get one where he liked, or is he going to have to chase whatever Carpenter has to offer? Wow.
2-2.
Boy, it's, you can get called strike 1 and 2, strike 2, but it's tough to get called strike 3. And I think Joe West saw that right. It broke around the plate. It looked like it may have caught the corner, but it broke around the plate.
2 on, 2 out, and the 2-2 pitch. Slow roller foul. LaRoche had 33 homers during the year, more than any first baseman in either league. If he touches one off here, it's a 1-run game. Worth away from third. Zimmerman from first. And another 2-2 pitch. They check at third. No, full count.
Boy, that was quite a check by LaRoche. It would have been so easy to go around that.
Craig backs up to play behind Zimmerman, who takes off on the 3-2 pitch, and now the bases are loaded. The tying run to the plate in the person of Michael Morse, who's 0 for 2 today, but had 18 homers during the season.
You know, it won't show up in the box score because it wasn't a hit. That was some at bat by Adam LaRoche. A couple of very close pitches that he could easily have chased, and I think that's why they call him Adam LaCool. He was very, very disciplined and didn't bite on any of those close pitches from Chris Carpenter.
Morse has struck out swinging and fouled out to third.
Looking fastball, anxious. Yeah, it's a battle with pitcher and hitter. Who has the pressure on with the bases loaded? And good hitters try to say the pressure's on the pitcher. In that particular case, you could see Morse kind of showing the pressure and chasing a borderline pitch.
Borderline as to whether he checked his swing, but they said he did go far enough. So it's strike one. Molina figured, what the heck? Asked Jim Joyce. There was no chance that was going to be strike two.
You know, Jim Palmer, the Hall of Famer, and Davy's teammate, Davy Johnson's teammate, as Trevor Rosenthal begins to throw, always prided himself on never having given up a grand slam. And here's a situation where Carpenter may pitch the same way. You got a power threat up there. You're not going to give in to him.
This one is popped into shallow right. Beltran is camped under it, and the Nationals leave the bases loaded. A base hit, a pair of walks, but nothing to show for it. Still 4-0 St. Louis. Who will become a legend this October? Cast your postseason legend vote at MLBFancave.com. It is now just a bit after 3 o'clock Eastern time, and the shadows are beginning to creep across home plate. So the hitters will be looking at the pitcher coming out of sunshine and the pitch coming to them through shadows.
About another half inning or inning, depending how quickly this goes.
Craig Stammen is the new pitcher. 6-1 this year, with a strong ERA of 2.34. Trying to keep the game within reach for the Nationals here in the 6th.
And again, both teams power bullpens, but the Nationals come at it with guys like Stammen, who have not only power but a lot of late movement. You can get an idea what Bob talked about from that center field shot. It's just beginning to take effect. There's Edwin Jackson. His 5 innings of work are complete, but out of the sunshine and then right around home plate, the ball gets dark. Ouch.
Molina is plunked to start the 6th.
Trying to run that ball in on him, but that one got out of his hand a little early and plunked Molina in the shoulder, upper arm. He's taken harder blows than that behind the plate on foul tips.
Not to mention some frightful collisions.
Yeah.
And he's had a few. Here's Freese, who has doubled and struck out swinging. Mike Matheny was talking about catchers blocking the plate, and he would know better than most. He estimates that he had more than 20 concussions during the course of his career, and at one point could not remember what signals he was putting down to the pitcher. Walked to the mound, talked to his pitcher. They agreed on a pitch. He got back behind the plate and couldn't remember what they talked about. And he said it was about 18 months after his last concussion, the one that finally forced him to hang it up, before he felt that he regained complete cognitive function. So far as he knows, at age 42, no ill effects now, but he's very concerned about the whole idea, not just in football and other so-called contact sports, but in baseball as well. And he said, you know, a year ago, I would not have favored changing the rules. But now I believe, having seen what happened to my own guy Yachty, having seen what happened to Buster Posey, I believe there ought to be a rule that the catcher has to give the base runner a portion of the plate, and the base runner has to take it. The 2-1 to Freese.
In the old school hard-nosed players, and Mike was one, and he said it was so difficult for me to buy into that philosophy because it's kind of a badge of honor to show your teammates I can block the plate. But now with all the injuries, I think you're going to begin to see organizations teach catchers to make the swipe tag stand out in front of the plate, or like you said, give them half of the plate and not have the Ray Fosse, Pete Rose collisions back in the All-Star game in, what was it, 70, 71, somewhere in that
70.
area. Yeah, 70. But to try to eliminate those because of the concussion factor.
And also the investments in some of these players. Right center field, Worth going back. The ball really carrying out by the wall. He leaps and can't get it. Harper plays the carom. And it's a double for Freese.
I tell you, the Nationals in the baseball world got a little glimpse. The baseball world got a little glimpse last year of David Freese's power to the opposite field. There again, that's been the mistake of the day for the Nationals pitcher. Ball coming back in from the outside corner. Worth gives it a nice effort, but can't quite get high enough to get leather on it. And I don't think the Cardinals have missed a mistake pitch yet. By a mistake pitch, I mean when you're trying to throw the ball low and away and you leave it in the middle of the plate.
Obviously, this would have been a terrific catch. Worth made a more difficult one in robbing Descalso of a home run in game 1 of this series in St. Louis. And by his body language, you can kind of infer that he thinks he had a chance at that one and didn't quite play it correctly.
I don't know. That would have been a very difficult one. That hit well up above. Steve McCaddy now making a trip to the mound because they're getting Tom Gorzalani, the left-hander, up in the bullpen as well.
Stammen comes in, hits the first man he faces, Molina, then gives up an opposite field double to Freese, and the Cardinals have second and third with nobody out, already leading 4-0.
Yeah, this is a little time buying trip to the mound is all this is. That's the almost catch you talked about. I think that would have been
it would have been a great play, no doubt about it.
Even if he gets his glove up higher, I don't know that he's going to be able to get it in his glove. Now
but look at him, he's berating himself. He thinks he should have made the play.
Nationals will bring the infield in now. Hitter's delight for Descalso,
who has singled and flied to deep right. It was an exuberant crowd at the beginning of the game. They've been quieted somewhat now. A line drive to right. Worth makes the catch. Molina tags and heads home and scores. The ball then skips away. Stammen is there to back up. And Freese advances to third and stops there. 5-0 St. Louis.
Yeah, I don't know that that was the right play by Jason Worth. I don't think he, even though Molina's not a fast runner. See, you allowed Freese to get to third base. I thought maybe the throw would have come in to try to keep Freese. See, he doesn't catch the ball over his throwing shoulder, so he has to turn all the way around, and Molina gets in easily. And now because of that, Freese tags up, sees the high looping throw, and he gets to third base with 1 out. And again, the Nationals have to keep the infield in.
Yadier Molina is deceptive. He's 5'11", kind of a chunky 230, but he's not really slow. Here's Kozma, a 3-run homer earlier in the game, now bats with the infield in again. Molina's a pretty good base runner, had 12 steals during the year.
Most catchers, even though they get criticized for their lack of speed, are some of the best base runners. Our friend and colleague Tim McCarver was a terrific base runner. Johnny Bench was a great base. I think he stole third 10 times one year. So they pay it. It doesn't matter if you have great speed, like Pete Rose, a great base runner. And so Molina, even though he's not a speedster, has good instincts on the bases.
I think McCarver led the league in triples one year.
Doesn't surprise me.
0-2 to Kozma. A run already home here in the Cardinals' 6th, and a man at third with one out.
Close.
And Stammen and Suzuki upset they didn't get the call from Joe West there. The 1-2 pitch. Struck him out swinging. A strikeout he needed.
A little gamesmanship by Mike Matheny. He sent Skip Schumacher into the on-deck circle. I think to maybe try to influence Davey Johnson's decision, and now they're going to send Carpenter back up to see if Davey opts to make a change. I don't think he will with the pitcher hitting.
Why not send Carpenter up?
Yeah, but it looked like with Schumacher on the on-deck circle that there was somebody out soft tossing in the Cardinal bullpen.
Yeah, there was some gamesmanship there. Carpenter has singled and doubled. The double was very nearly a home run. Both of those hits off Edwin Jackson. Takes ball one from Stammen here.
And just to explain the gamesmanship, see, with Kozma there, if Carpenter was in the on-deck circle, they probably would have walked Kozma automatically. Set up a double play. But by sending Schumacher up there, Davey says, aha, pinch hitter, we're going at Kozma. So it gave him at least a chance to swing the bat. Stammen won the battle. Called him back. Yeah, he can't wait to get up there. He didn't want to come out of this game.
Carpenter taking his hacks. Down on the count, 1-2. Matheny told us before the game that 6 innings from Carpenter would be just perfect. He's gotten 5 shutout innings to this point. Although the Nationals have left 8, and Carpenter has not had a 1-2-3 inning.
Yeah, the innings thing is deceptive because everybody says like 6 innings. Well, Chris Carpenter today, with the way he's had to work, he's already thrown about 7 innings worth of pitches on a normal day.
Stammen trying to limit the damage in the 6th. And his 2-2 pitch. Down goes Carpenter, but the Cardinals tack on another. (5-0) St. Louis as we head back to the MLB Network studio and join Scott Braun.
Welcome to this Captain Morgan studio update. The journey continues in the division series, and later today it's Mike Leake getting the start for the Reds at 4 Eastern against the Giants. The 24-year-old right-hander was left off the NLDS roster, but he will replace the injured Johnny Cueto. Leake's 3-0 with a 0.77 ERA in 3 starts against San Francisco over the last 2 seasons. Leake and the Reds have a chance to wrap up the series tonight with a victory. On the other side, Barry Zito gets the call. Zito's last 11 regular season starts, 7-0 with a 3.92 ERA. It's game 4 at 4 Eastern. And that's just the halfway mark for today's games. Later tonight, O's Yankees at 7:30. Tigers A's fires up at 9:30. Back to DC after the break.
3 more division series games on tap. The first 2 on TBS, Giants and Reds, starts in less than an hour. Then later the Orioles and the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. And the Tigers and A's finish it up on TNT later tonight. Ian Desmond has a bloop single and a double. He'll be followed by Danny Espinosa, then Kurt Suzuki, and if anybody gets on, Davey Johnson will go to his bench. The Nats have one base hit in each of the first 5 innings against Carpenter. And they have left 8 men on base, but they haven't dented the plate. Hit sharply to short, and Kozma cannot flag it down. Likely scored a hit, in which case Desmond is 3 for 3.
Yeah, Pete would like to have another shot at that. That was not. I know this field is very fast. It's almost like AstroTurf, but seemed like he could have gotten over there a little bit quicker, at least knocked it down. And I think, too, maybe the shadows at home plate we've talked about affecting the hitter. Yeah, I take that back. When I first looked at it, it looked like he could have gotten behind it. He couldn't have. But I think even with the shadows, they affect the hitter. They also affect the guys in the field seeing the ball off the bat. I don't think he got an early read on that one.
6th hit for Washington, 1 in each inning. Carpenter has moved past 90 pitches. This is almost certainly his last inning, no matter what the Nats do here. The Cardinal bullpen was stabilized by a midseason acquisition, Edward Mujica. He's the 7th inning guy, Mitchell Boggs in the 8th, and Jason Mott to close. They had to use Lance Lynn for 3 innings. Trevor Rosenthal is throwing right now, but that would be only in case they had to relieve Carpenter in this inning, would be my guess.
Yeah.
Started to say they used Lynn on Monday, 3 innings, 50 pitches. He is not available today. According to Matheny, everybody else in the bullpen good to go, including Shelby Miller, who turned 22 today and was added to the roster after they disabled Jaime Garcia, who started game 2 and had to come out early because of shoulder pain, and he is likely done for the postseason.
That's why managers call this the bridge inning. They like to see starters, and I know the quality starts get poo-pooed. 6 innings, maybe 3 earned runs, but if you get an effort like that, you'll win 70% of your games. Statistics will prove that. But again, I think you could see maybe Chris Carpenter reaching the end of the line, and they want a starter to go 6 to bridge it to those last 3 guys. But in this case, Mike Matheny may have to use Trevor Rosenthal to try to do that, getting the pitch count up near 100.
Two and 2 to Espinosa, who's 0 for 2, although it appeared he was safe on his bunt attempt in the 2nd inning. Wound up with a sacrifice, so actually he's 0 for 1 with a sacrifice, but it looked like he had beat it out for a hit. He was called out rather, at first base. Delayed call from Joe West, and Espinosa turns away on a called 3rd strike.
And I wonder again if that was an example of not seeing the ball. Perfect pitch by Carpenter. Move back across the inside corner. This could be an interesting discussion on the mound. Mike Matheny.
Well, getting up near 100 pitches.
I'm okay. Give me one more hitter. I can give you one more hitter. No. Yeah, he is. Well, I think in this case, no pitcher wants to say I've had enough. But I think at his age and his stature, Mike Matheny trusts Chris Carpenter. Chris, like David Cohn was with Joe Torre, will be honest with him and say, you know what, I don't, for the good of the team. But if Carpenter says I'm ready to go, Matheny's going to say go.
A strike to Suzuki, who's grounded to 3rd. and fly to deep center. The strikeout of Espinosa was Carpenter's second. He's walked 2. He's allowed 6 hits. Cardinals have also made an error, so the Nats have had plenty of base runners, but none of them have come around.
Steve Lombardozzi in the on-deck circle for the Nationals.
Fly ball center field. John Jay makes the play, and back to first is Desmond with 2 out.
What is that, 10 fly ball outs? You know, pitchers with great stuff like a Steven Strasburg, they get hitters out. Pitchers like Chris Carpenter give hitters a chance to get themselves out. And that's why they'll go back to dugout and say, ooh, just missed, just missed. They used to do that with a great catfish hunter. He's just able to take the ball off the barrel of the bat.
I count 11 outs in the air.
Yeah.
And the graphic says 12, and I'm going to go with the guys in the truck.
Why not?
Let's call it a dozen.
Why not? That's
so here
12,
is Lombardozzi.
That's 12 out of 17 outs.
'24-year-old switch hitting utility man. Son of the former Minnesota Twin of the same name, who was a teammate of Kirby Puckett and Frank Viola when they won the World Series in 1987. Over the Cardinals, as it happened, in 7 games.
And this again becomes a big out. First of all, you have the shadows working for you as a pitcher. I mean, you're a pinch hitter. You come up off the bench back at 1 o'clock. See how nice and clear it was? Now at 3:20, you can barely see the hitter or the catcher. So if you can throw strikes, it's a big advantage. Ow. See, this would get Worth up again, a veteran hitter, and that would, I think, challenge Mike Massini. Is he going to go one more hitter with Chris Carpenter? And I don't think so. If he walks a pinch hitter right here, that would tell me that he's about out of bullets.
Desmond away from first.
You know, there's a lot said, Bob, about pitch counts in arm. What they don't realize is what happens right now with a pitcher like Chris Carpenter, who has not pitched that much this season. It's the legs. The legs aren't in as good a condition, and as a result, you begin to lose a little bit of the control.
Lombardozzi hit .273 as a rookie. .308 as a pinch hitter, and delivers a pinch hit here. A liner to right that leaves runners at first and second. Very useful coming off the bench for Davey Johnson, and you're right, Mike Matheny's going to hook Chris Carpenter right here. Lombardozzi played a number of games at second, left field, third base, a handful at shortstop, and hit well over 300 as a pinch hitter. Delivers off the bench here. It chases Carpenter and keeps the Nats' hopes alive.
Till now, about another inning, they won't be able to see.
Right.
That's Joe West. That's the voice of Joe West, and he's talking to the Nationals employee that brings the baseballs out to him, and he says another inning you won't be able to see. That's the effect of the shadows.
Here's the rookie Trevor Rosenthal out of the Cardinal pen to face Worth. And West says it's strike 1. Rosenthal made his big league debut in mid-July. They began to use him a bit more in the season's last month.
Boy,
mopped up the Game 2 win on Monday.
If you check those numbers, he's got some fire too. 25 strikeouts in about 14 innings. Yeah.
And ahead of Worth, 0-2.
Yeah, it's kind of potluck right now for a hitter. You're looking at a guy coming in, you haven't seen him yet. You've looked at all Carpenter's crafty stuff, and here he comes with that dead red into the shadows, and you just hope somehow you make contact with it.
Got that last one up there at 97 miles an hour, out of the sunshine and into the shadows. Now covering home plate in the area in front of it. And Worth hangs in. I know we'll sound like a couple of old timers as we look at Carpenter, and
we are.
His line is 5 2/3, 7 hits, walked 2, struck out 2. Obviously, the 2 base runners aboard are his responsibility, but to this point, no runs charged to him. And I'll hold the old timer thought for at least one pitch. And for at least another inning. Into foul ground it goes. Craig takes it. Rosenthal gets the Cardinals out of a 6th inning mess, and it's still 5-0 St. Louis. As we go to the 7th, the new pitcher for the Nationals is Christian Garcia. Made his debut only about a month ago. And here he is pitching in a postseason game and immediately greeted by a base hit off the bat of John Jay. A little cue shot into right. But it becomes his first hit of the afternoon. And I started to say before the break, back in the day you and I remember, all World Series games were in the daytime, and they used to start at 3 o'clock. So this was the way it looked at the beginning of the game. If you were facing Sandy Koufax at Yankee Stadium, you know, a good portion of the game was just like this.
No wonder Larson pitched his perfect game. No, that's true. In fact, before lights, a lot of the afternoon games started at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Just for old-time baseball fans, the Yankees had a hitter named Tommy Henrik, and they called him 5 o'clock lightning. And that's because he would come up to pinch hit in the 8th or 9th inning. It'd be 5 o'clock.
That was when games took about 2 hours.
Yeah.
Beltran's 0 for 2 with a walk. Just as an example, on this date, October 10th, 1968, the Cardinals lost Game 7 of the World Series. Here we are in the Division Series. The game took 2 hours and 7 minutes. Mickey Lolich beat Bob Gibson, and the Tigers came from down 3 games to 1 to break the Cardinals' hearts.
Remember it well. Mickey, like Bob Gibson in several World Series, Sandy Koufax, pitched 3, I believe, all 3 complete games. I'm not sure if they were all complete. I believe they were.
He won 3 games, and he pitched the 7th game on 2 days rest,
right,
which Gibson had done himself on earlier occasions, although Gibson pitched that Game 7 on 3 days rest and had one of the best center fielders of all time, Curt Flood, not misjudged a line drive off Jim Northrup's bat. They might still be dueling, the 2 of them. Bouncing ball toward the hole and through for a base hit. Jay will stop at second as Worth guns it back in, and the Cardinals greet Garcia with back-to-back singles to start the 7th.
I'll give John Jay a little credit for Carlos Beltran's hit by getting a leadoff single, and the first baseman's holding him on. That opened up that hole, so Beltran just hit what would have been a normal ground ball, ends up for a base hit. Now with the heart of the Cardinal order coming up, though it's difficult to see the ball right now. And again, there's that ground ball. See, LaRoche probably would have gotten to that ball without anybody on base. They can blow this game open here with a couple of hits.
Holiday has a pair of hits already in 3 at-bats. Game 4 tomorrow. Kyle Loesch, who was 16-3, against left-hander Ross Detweiler, who was 10-8 for the Nationals. Bounce toward third. Charging is Zimmerman. Throws on the run. And LaRoche stays on the bag. Nice play. Runners move up to second and third.
Matt Holliday, as you can see, glanced back up at the big scoreboard to see. He thought he had that play beat. Jim Joyce has had several calls that look bang bang. This is not hit well, but for the Cardinals, it's a productive out. Yeah, I'm not too sure he wasn't safe as well as we can't really see the ball go in his glove, but boy, Jim Joyce has had some bang bang plays there. And again, the Nationals have to bring in. Now they're going to walk
Alan Craig, which makes sense, even though Yadier Molina hit .315, sets up the force at the plate or the possible double play, and that's what you need. And it looks like the foot is not quite down as the ball barely gets into the glove, but that is another tough call for Jim Joyce.
Yeah, he's had it. Well, yeah, it is a right percentage here. Yadier Molina, good clutch hitter, but you're playing the percentage and hope you can get a double play. Doesn't run that well. But again, Molina has become a better situational hitter. And with these shadows in this situation, he'll probably cut this field in half and say, let's just see if I can't poke one out to right field.
You might have caught a glimpse of Mark McGuire, the Cardinals hitting coach, behind Molina in the dugout. Before the game, Mark asked us to wish a happy 10th birthday to his son Max.
Mike Matheny made an interesting decision when I asked him about approaching Edwin Jackson. He said what Mark does is he individualizes we got low ball hitters, high ball hitters, guys like the ball away, guys like the ball in, and Mark was able to counsel each one of them.
Molina hit into a double play in the third. Also grounded out in the first, then was hit by a pitch in the sixth.
And you can see in the outfield, barely through the shadows, Worth very shallow, as is Harper. As they figure anything hit that way might not be hit that deeply, and they're in a position where they can throw out the runner at home. You know, John Jay can run.
Jay is at third, Beltran at second. They each singled. Craig at first. He was walked intentionally. 2-1 to Molina.
Not a good, and Javier would be the first to admit it, not a good swing when you got a hitter's count at 2-0. That was more like a 2-strike swing, like you're going to protect the strike zone.
And the count levels at 2-2. Little hop on that one at 96. Jay, Beltran, and Craig. Bases loaded, one out. And a full count. Garcia pitched an inning and 2/3 in the Game 2 blowout, which the Cardinals won 12-4, and he struck out both Alan Craig and Pete Kozma during that stint. Molina gets a tiny piece of it.
There's the tiny piece Bob's talking about. She just got the top part of it. Good late movement from Garcia.
No margin for error for the 27-year-old rookie right-hander. His 3-2 pitch misses by plenty and forces in a run. Well, you walk Craig intentionally and then pass Molina quite unintentionally, and it's 6-0.
Well, the managers make the moves, but the players have to execute. And I would think right now, David Freese, being as aggressive a hitter as he, and again, I go back to who's the pressure on. I think he's saying, hey, McCaddy out to give the bullpen a little bit more time to get loose. I think David Freese is saying after walking Molina, he has to throw a strike. He's going to be, the hitters call it keyhole. He'll look for a fastball in a certain zone and see if he can't make a good swing and put this game out of reach.
Ryan Matthews heating up now in the Nationals pen. You know, as we looked at Davey Johnson a moment ago, it looks like the Nationals are going to have to rally to come back either in this game or the next 2 games if it goes that far in this series in order to advance. But if they got to the World Series and if they won it, Davey Johnson would hold the following record: the longest span of time between World Series wins for a manager in the history of the game. It would be
years?
26. 1986 with the Mets
right.
to
I missed
2012.
a decade.
Well, you know the way it happens.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
get diverted a little bit, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden, the next thing you know, a decade goes
Wow.
by.
26 years. That's right.
Freese fouls it off. The record, the kind of record no one ever talks about until someone approaches it, is held by Bucky Harris, who managed Walter Johnson's Senators to the World Championship in 1924 and then the Yankees to the World Series win in 1947. 23 years. Tony La Russa went 17 between 1989 with the A's and 2006 with the Cardinals. Two balls and 2 strikes to Freese, who has doubled twice and struck out. Cardinals on the verge of busting this game open if they haven't already. And a called strike 3.
Yeah, I think David Freese going back say you can't hit what you can't see. And the hitters will be happy in about another half inning when the shadows move past the mound.
Freese might have been frozen here.
He was. Good pitch, good fastball. Came back, caught the outside corner.
So now Descalso, who was singled, fly to deep right, and then hit a sacrifice fly to right. Four times in September in regular season games, and then in one of the 2 division series games prior to this one, 4 times in the last month, the Cardinals have scored 10 runs or more against the Nationals. So they have had their moments when they've really beaten up on the Nationals pitching staff, up 6-0 here. During the regular season, Davey Johnson's team took 4 of 7 from Mike Matheny's Cardinals. Cards on the verge of going up 2-1 when it really counts in the best of 5 division series. With LaRoche playing behind him with the bases loaded, Molina is literally about halfway to second base by the time Garcia delivers the pitch.
You mentioned him being a good base runner. What he's doing there is once Descalso begins to swing the bat, that's strike 3. So if he puts it in play or if he misses it, it's strike 3 and there's 2 outs. So if he does begin to swing, Molina's going to say, I'm going to get a good jump.
2-2. Pete Kozma, whose 3-run homer in the second is the big blow in the game, waits on deck. Cardinals have made Garcia work here. His 30th pitch of the inning on the way. And it results in a strikeout. So he walked home a run, but then he fanned Freese and Descalso to limit the damage. But it is 6-0 St. Louis as we go back to the MLB Network studio and check in with Harold Reynolds for more on the Shadows. Welcome back to this MLB Network telecast presented by Geico with Jim Cotton, Sam Ryan, Bob Costas in the nation's capital. And we might as well take care of this business. The telecast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Even the residents of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue know that. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent.
That was one of the perks coming in to play the Senators back when they were the expansion Senators as a member of the Minnesota Twins, because one of our biggest fans was Hubert Humphrey. So he would host us often on tours of the White House, lunch with LBJ. Looks like Mike Matheny is going to stay with there's Teddy. He's going to stay with Trevor Rosenthal here in the 7th inning.
It was quite the cause celeb in these parts when in the president's race where Washington, Lincoln, and there's Honest Abe, who has the advantage of the very long stride. He was somewhere around 6'5" or whatever. So he has won more races than any of the presidents. Jefferson, Washington. But Teddy somehow in more than 500 races had never won until toward the end of the regular season. He finally crossed the finish line first, and now apparently it's old hat, even if the glasses are somewhat askew for the Rough Rider. And you know, it really didn't make sense because TR was one of the most athletic of all our presidents.
Really?
Yes. Didn't you know that?
I did not know that.
Of course. Trevor Rosenthal stays in the game with the Cardinals in front 6-0. It gives Matheny a chance to save, possibly, Mojica, Boggs, and Mott. Harper's 0 for 3, has just one hit in the series.
Hitters catch a little break right now. Harold Reynolds did that diamond demo on what you do if the shadows are an issue, but now it's overcast. So there's really no, everything is the same light. There's no shadows. As you look at that shot right there, it looks like clear daylight.
But still, I liked it because Harold is one of those guys who's cool enough to wear shades indoors, and it just looks right.
He's cooler than the other side of the pillow. I mean, he loves those diamond demos, too.
If he wasn't a second baseman turned broadcaster, could have been a jazz man.
Yeah.
And by that, I do not mean a member of the Utah Jazz. A nickname that made perfect sense when they were the New Orleans Jazz and no sense whatsoever in the most jazzless state in the union, Utah.
Bryce Harper with the still has the red contacts in, a little emergency swing right there. Hitters want to have that 2-strike swing that they can just lash out and make contact, stay alive. That's what that one was.
The 0-2. 98 on that one as it misses high and away. Let's go back to Sam Ryan.
Yeah, contact lenses aside and new blue-black dyed hair aside on Bryce Harper. He's not making any excuses, but he's been battling strep throat, guys, and he's been on antibiotics. He told us that he had a fever yesterday, and before today's game, he still had a slight fever. So he hasn't been feeling well, but he's not making any excuses.
Too old school to make excuses about that.
This time of the year, you got to have broken bones not to want to play.
Rosenthal's 2-2. Rolled toward the hole, but backhanded by a diving Craig, covering his Rosenthal, and they got him.
Nice play, though it looked awkward. Alan Craig known more for his hitting than his defense. And the spectacular part of this play was by Rosenthal. See, Rosenthal hesitates a minute, gets over there. Alan Craig, and Rosenthal had to reach down, backhand the throw, and still get his foot down, find the bag. Nice shot by our crew to show how he just got it down before Harper's foot.
Well, they have tested Jim Joyce many times today.
Man.
Seems like every call has been a tough, close one for him.
He's going to have some CD of close plays at first to look at tomorrow.
Zimmerman is 2 for 3, a pair of singles. The first postseason game in the nation's capital in 79 years is not turning out the way the home folks wished.
Going to look at the positioning. Look at Jim Joyce. He could look at the foot of Rosenthal, the foot of Harper. Perfect position. Umpires take their shots because we have several looks at replays, but I thought the acrobatic move by Suzuki, by Ichiro Suzuki, it was, but the home plate
incredible
umpire was so, he was right on it in perfect position to make that call.
Sliced foul. Well, first Ichiro evades Wieder's tag. That was part A. Good, but not unprecedented. Now he's got to come back around, and he's reaching to the outside of the plate, kind of the mound side of the plate, to evade the tag, but at the same time he has to have the presence of mind and the nimbleness to pull his left arm away from Wieder's and then stick his right hand in to touch the plate.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool, and that was cruel to Ryan Zimmerman at this time of the day, although the shadows may not be quite as much of a figure. But Rosenthal with another power fastball, and right, well, it came back in a little bit. It had that late movement.
On that Ichiro play, Ernie Johnson had it exactly right. He described it as home plate ballet.
Yeah, good call.
Not too many capable of it.
I mean, we look at this score, 6-0, 2 out in the 7th. It does not seem like the Nationals have been shut out. They have, if LaRoche is retired, I believe it will be the first 1-2-3 inning.
True. And they have left 10 men on base. You know, you think about that Ichiro play. A lot of times people and things will be described as unique, and what the speaker really means is rare.
Yeah.
Ichiro is truly unique. Nobody like him.
No. Well, fans get a chance to see him in action. You got four games to watch today. He'll be in action a little later tonight. There's the team comparison with the Cardinals getting 24 hits. Nationals got 17, but look at the run differential. And Davey Johnson's team just not coming up with that big hit with men on base.
Cardinals would appear, with all due respect to the good young left-hander Ross Detweiler, who has excellent stuff. This one's a big chopper that Rosenthal fields in fair territory. Ball's in play, and in fact it becomes a 1-2-3 inning. With all due respect to Detweiler, it would appear the Cardinals would have the matchup advantage in a possible clinching Game 4 tomorrow with Kyle Loach, who was 16-3. After the game, MLB Tonight. They'll talk about all the missed chances from the Nationals' perspective and the rest of the pitching matchups as the series continues. Al Leiter will be there as part of the coverage. We know that Harold Reynolds is there.
Well, that'll be a high energy show then, I'll guarantee you.
New pitcher is Ryan Matthews. 28-year-old right-hander from Sacramento, California, facing Pete Kozma, who skies one into right. Worth is there to make the catch.
Well, game 1, Ryan Matthews came in a key situation, bottom of the 7th, bases loaded, nobody out. Look at this play by Desmond. Very few shortstops would try to go no. He threw 2 pitches, got freeze on the force at home. Yadier Molina swings at the first pitch, and look at the emotion. just about the time it looked like the Cardinals might increase their lead, he got out of it, and the Nats went on to win the game.
Here's Skip Schumacher now off the Cardinal bench to bat for Rosenthal, who did a good enough job while he was in there to save Mike Matheny's bullpen a little bit.
I'll tell you, the bullpens today from all teams, you look at Baltimore, Detroit, Oakland, wow. Can they bring some fire out of there? I mean, Ryan Cook gave up a run the other day, first run in a month. Sean Doolittle, who a year ago was a first baseman, he comes in, blows you away with high 90s. It's like every bullpen has some flamethrowers out there.
8th season in the major leagues, all of them with St. Louis for Skip Schumacher as Mitchell Boggs gets ready in the Cardinal pen. He is generally their 8th inning guy. The question is, if you have this big a lead or possibly bigger, do you want to use Mott or do you want to give him another day? Jammed him, rolled toward first, unassisted for LaRoche.
I think in today's game, when teams are so explosive, if you have a chance to win the game, you win the game. Try to win the game with your best guys. What can often happen if you decide to bring somebody else in instead of Mott, and then a couple base runners get on, now you just increase the pressure of the situation. So I think Mike Matheny could use, he's going to use Boggs and Mott and still have them available tomorrow.
Well, if they each throw only an inning, they can come back.
This time of the year, every relief pitcher on all teams will probably tell you, they're a little fatigued. This is a long season. They're pitching in. They've been out there a lot. They're all hard throwers. So they're pitching a lot on stomach and adrenaline as well as just their power arm.
Jay stings one to center. His second straight hit. He's now 2 for 5 on the afternoon. More on John Jay from Sam Ryan.
Yeah, John Jay with the offense here, but in game 2, a key defensive play robbing Danny Espinosa. Now, that was a catch that was a trending topic on Twitter, and he told me he was really excited when he saw that Matt Kemp had tweeted, "Wow, John Jay, what a play." He said, I look at Matt Kemp as one of the best center fielders in the game, so he was really excited about that. He said his cell phone was just buzzing with all the text messages, guys.
There it is. Right at Tony La Russa. He never broke stride. What a play. It's not to be sacrilegious, Bob, in terms of baseball terms, but we've grown up thinking that Willie Mays made the greatest catch ever in the Polo Grounds. It was it was a great catch. Willie was the most athletic player at that time. He had to run way out to 400 and some feet away, catch it over his shoulder.
Beltran drives one down the right field line. This one is going to get down and then bounce over the wall and into the bullpen for a double. Otherwise, Jay would have scored from first, running with the crack of the bat with 2 out.
Yeah, that saved the Nationals a run.
And deprives Beltran of an RBI.
Right down in the right field corner and takes a high bounce off that warning track for a double. Right back to quickly finish off the Willie Mays. I think what we've seen in recent times with Devon White and Andrew Jones, Kirby Puckett, Gary, you can go on and on. We have really seen some great catches by center. Jim Edmonds. And as great as Willie's catch was, I think the players today are so much more athletic. And that play of John Jay, I don't know many center fielders in any era make that play.
The 1-0 to Holiday. And that one took a bite out of him. Well, Willie himself will tell you that the catch in '54 against the Cleveland Indians, Vic Wertz hit the ball, was not the greatest catch he ever made. It was just his greatest catch on the greatest stage.
Right. Yep. And the throw was what was key too. He whipped around, and at that time, Willie, and maybe to this day a lot of people still do say the most exciting player. Matt Holliday does not look like he has one of those shin guards on his left leg, and I bet he wishes he did.
What was it that someone once said of Willie Mays, actually speaking of his glove? where triples go to die.
Yeah.
And then on another occasion, there was a ball that was hit for extra bases into the gap. And it might have been Bob Stevens, legendary San Francisco writer, who said the only man who could have caught the ball hit it. In his time, he was the best.
Yeah. I was a little biased being a Midwestern country boy, but I kind of liked Hank Aaron with the Braves. Hank did
as a hitter, Hank was right there with Willie, and maybe in some respects better. But I think Willie was the greatest all-round player I've ever seen.
Certainly the most exciting in that era.
One and two to Holiday, another guy who might have been just beneath him, but not by much, and I think was the most underrated great player of his time, was in the ballpark today to throw out the first pitch. Frank Robinson.
I'll say amen to that. You know, when you do that once, pitchers will say, let's go in there again. Yeah, boy, I agree with you. Frank Robinson does not, Triple Crown winner in 1966, doesn't get the credit of being in the same class with Mays or Aaron.
That's toward the hole and through. It produces one and likely two. Beltran sprints for the plate, and the Cardinals are cruising now. It's 8-0 St. Louis. With two out, consecutive hits by Jay, Beltran, and Holiday. Holiday's third hit of the day, and it's 8-0 Cardinals.
Well, that's those four we talked about, that 2 through 5. I think Matt Holliday got this hit out of anger. He said, I'm getting tired of getting hit in on that shin. He just fought that off and drove it in the hole between third and short.
Jay, Beltran, Freeze, and the starting pitcher Carpenter all had 2 hits today. Holiday was coming out for a pinch runner, had 3. Kozma had only 1, but it was the biggest hit, a 3-run homer in the second. So here's Craig. Shane Robinson is the pinch runner at first. Holiday leaves after a 3-for-5 game.
Yeah, that 2 through 5 in this Cardinal lineup, and then you have Pete Kozma chipping in today. It's just tough to shut them down. Beltran, Holiday, Craig, Freeze. And you think, looking ahead to tomorrow, well, what kind of chance is Detweiler going to have? Because he's a left-hand pitcher. But oftentimes those right-hand hitters like that like the ball in to pull the ball, lefty with that tail and fastball, could oftentimes be more effective than a right-hand pitcher. The Nationals will hope that's the case.
Craig fouls it back to the screen. Robinson, who's running for Holiday at first, will no doubt stay in the game and play in the outfield. The attendance today, and I'm not sure where they put them all because the official capacity is about 42,000. The attendance 45,017, the highest ever at Nationals Park.
Wow.
Which opened in 2008. When the Nationals were newly minted in 2005, they played in the old RFK Stadium, which had been home to the Senators toward the end of their second go-round as Washington's team.
Must have had a lot of standing room only space here today.
Well, there's some of them.
Well, it's been an exciting year here for the Nationals, and these fans have finally had a baseball team to really get excited about. And I had said in our open, I thought this was the biggest game because they had to try to break through against Carpenter. So it's going to really test that team tomorrow to come out and see if this score does hold up.
Foul back. Mike Rizzo, the GM here, has done a brilliant job assembling this team. Farm system, occasional free agent acquisitions. There he is. Astute trades. And he is steadfast in his belief that what they have done with Steven Strasburg has been and continues to be correct. But he also knows that a storm of criticism is coming. Some of it will come after this game, but more of it will come if they lose this series.
Yeah, and he's ready for that. So only time will tell whether that really has been the proper thing to do. I guess
you have to give him credit for the courage of his convictions. And you wonder what's passing through the mind of Steven Strasburg these days. Another 3-2 pitch and another foul ball. Now, it's been noted that they could have started Strasburg in May, let's say, extended spring training. Could have gone to a 6-man rotation. Could have put him on the disabled list on the day he was going to start. Could have used him out of the bullpen the last few starts. Could have said, what the heck, 160 to 180, but in a year when we have a chance to go to the World Series, why can't it be 190? Mike Rizzo is aware of all those things, and I discussed them with him again before the game today. And again, very politely and directly, he said, I understand all of those observations, but no one making those observations knows Steven Strasburg as well as we do. No one knows our situation as well as we do. We have all the facts and all the knowledge, and this is our best judgment. Wow. And Craig draws a walk, and he worked for it.
That is some at bat. I mean, I didn't count the foul balls, but he kept fouling off those 2-strike pitches, ends up with a base on balls.
Which brings us back around to Yadier Molina, who was twice grounded out, once into a double play, and has been hit by a pitch and then walked. The walk forced home a run.
Steve McCaddy out to buy a little time. Ross Detweiler, St. Louis native, had a near St. Louis, had a rough outing against the Cardinals the last time. And now all the, they talk about momentum, and it's the old cliche, momentum is tomorrow's starting pitcher. As you mentioned, the Cardinals, as Gonzalez begins to loosen up in the Nationals bullpen. By track record, the Cardinals have a bit of an advantage. Kyle Loesch, who's had a great year, 16-3. He's also pitched on the big stage for the Cardinals before.
That would be Mike Gonzalez, one of their bullpen guys, not Gio Gonzalez, who won 21 games this year and is a Cy Young Award candidate, but was shaky in game 1 where he walked 7, although the Nats won the game. And Gonzalez would come back and reprise his matchup with Adam Wainwright if the Nats can win tomorrow and force a game 5. That's assuming they don't have the rally of all rallies here in this one. Molina hits it solidly to center, but there is Harper almost right at him to make the catch. And it's an 8-0 game as the Nationals come up in their half of the 8th. This MLB Network telecast is presented by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com for a free rate quote. And sponsored in part by Dairy Queen's new spicy chicken strip basket, now just $4.49. And Samsung Galaxy Note 10.1 with S Pen. Note that new way.
Shots in the background of Mickey Mantle as a teenager. Andrew Jones. Did you say Freddie Lindstrom?
Freddie Lindstrom with the 24 New York Giants and Phil Cavarretta with the 35 Cubs.
Philibut.
They are the 4 teenagers prior to today to start a postseason baseball game, and Bryce Harper became number 5 on that list today.
First World Series I followed as a kid, 1945, had Philibut, Cavarretta playing for the Cubbies. Last time they were there.
Fernando Salas comes out of the bullpen in the 8th for the Cardinals. Actually, Harper did not join that list today since this is the 3rd game of the series. He joined it on Sunday. Shane Robinson ran for Holiday, now plays left field for him. Salas ahead of Morse, 1-2. And a high fly ball to deep right. back toward the wall. Leaping and making the play is Beltran.
Wow. I think that's why Jason Worth was beating himself up earlier. He wished that maybe he would have got back, but I think Jason's play was a lot more degree of difficulty. This is just well timed. Beltran knows exactly where he is, where the wall is, times it perfectly, and makes a more difficult catch look rather easy. You know, it really wasn't that easy. All good timing.
Beltran is 2 for 4 with a walk, and he's had a couple of outstanding defensive plays today. Here's Ian Desmond, who's 3 for 3. Pair of singles and a double. Matheny going with Salas here. Be interesting to see if he gets through the 8th unscathed. Who pitches the 9th?
Well, now with those additional 2 runs, that makes it a little bit different. You got 2 grand slams to tie it. I mean, you got a little margin for error there. So if he chooses to rest Mott and Boggs, Mike Matheny, then it'd be fresher for tomorrow.
Show you how a guy's fortunes can change. Last year, Salas replaced Ryan Franklin as the Cardinals closer and actually led the team with 24 saves in a World Championship season. But by year's end, Jason Mott had emerged. And then this year, Salas struggled, wound up going back to AAA. And then after the All-Star break, showed signs of improvement and began to get more responsibility out of that Cardinal bullpen, but still not part of the real closing trio of Mujica and Boggs and Mott. But in there somewhere, a useful arm.
Pretty nice option to have if you're Mike Matheny. Take a guy with an 8-0 lead that led your team in saves last year. Say, well, I'll just put him in here as, you know, no disrespect, but almost like a mop-up man.
This year he appeared in 65 games. Went 1-4 with an ERA of 4.30. He's 27 years old and hails from Mexico. Two and 2 the count to Desmond, who's had a big game and a good series. Pops that one into shallow right. In comes Beltran, fooled off the bat for just a moment, but had time to recover. Time to check with Greg Amsinger in the studio. Greg.
Bob, I got a Geico update from Cincinnati. Mike Leake gets the ball for game 4 in Cincinnati, and oh my, this is how the game starts. Angel Pagan leads the game off with a home run. Bottom 1 at Great American Ballpark, and the Giants strike first, trying to even the series at 2 games apiece. Bob, Jim, back to you.
All right, Greg. Well, Johnny Cueto not available. They go to Leake, and bam, right off the bat. Want to know to Espinoza. Well, while Carpenter was in there, the Nationals did not go down 1-2-3 in any inning. However, they went out in order in the 7th, and the first 2 have been retired here in the 8th against first Rosenthal and now Salas.
So I was thinking, looking back on this game, that the Nationals, if it holds up and they say, oh, we really got drubbed today, 8-0, but if you've not seen this entire game, they really had more opportunities than the Cardinals. The Cardinals took advantage of Edwin Jackson didn't quite get himself organized and grounded the first couple innings. His pitches not on target, left too many of them in the middle of the plate, and the Cardinals just didn't miss any. But Chris Carpenter worked out of jams almost every inning. Now you can see the sun becoming a factor again, making a sort of a square or a rectangle right out there around the pitching mound, you know, where the sun shines through the openings in the stands here. So again, the shadows become a factor for the hitter coming out of the sunlight into the dark.
Saw the graphic a moment ago. 10 men left on base today by the Nationals. And Espinoza strikes out swinging. And down go the Nats in order in this inning. They've left 10, as we said. The Cardinals have left 9. The difference is the Cardinals have plated 8. Hey, here it comes this offseason. TV's first and only baseball morning show. Hot Stove, Harold Reynolds, Matt Vasgersian, all the trade rumors, free agent buzz. Hot Stove, weekday mornings, premiering November 12th, only on MLB Network. Just to get some work in, here is Drew Storen, who hasn't pitched since Game 1 on Sunday. Had his best season in 2011. Last year, saved 43.
And he came to the party late this year. You see, just 37 games, came off the disabled list. So with 2 days off and innings work, do him some good. I think Davey Johnson, Steve McCatty feel that way.
Missed the first half of this year after April's surgery to remove bone chips from his throwing elbow. Tyler Clippard performed admirably in his absence, and now they've switched roles again.
Yeah, like most teams that make it to postseason, they have had a solid bullpen all year.
But there's nothing to close out for the Nats here. Just trying to put this one behind them and regroup. They need to win 2 in a row. They've been pushed to the brink, apparently, by a team which prior to this year would not even have made the postseason.
Yeah.
The second wild card.
And the start time tomorrow, I believe, is 4:05, which Davey Johnson said they just do not want to play at that particular time. We've talked about the shadows on and off all day, but that is about when they're going to be at their worst, 4 o'clock when the game starts.
David Freese has struck out twice and doubled twice. Rolled to Desmond, who throws him out. Hey, folks, and especially you, Jim, take a look at this.
Wow. That'll scare any hitter, won't it? That fierce look. Now, they made one mistake on that card.
Yeah.
STAR. I think just 1960 rookie would have been sufficient, but I still have that.
Well, you
blue
became
cap
a star later.
Yeah, with the red W, the old blue cap with the pesky nets.
You know what's really scary? I think I remember that card.
You probably. I'll sign it for you.
A pack of Topps bubblegum cards cost a nickel.
Yeah.
And you got that chalky piece of gum, which if you dropped it on the pavement, it shattered like glass.
Right.
For a nickel, you could get that little piece of pink bubble gum, rectangular bubble gum, and 5 cards. And I think, as an 8-year-old, I recall having that one. Unfortunately, I traded it for a Norm Seaburn and an Eli Gerba.
And a player to be named later.
Yeah. And that player was Pumpsy Green, I think.
Well, you know, along with the 1960 rookie stars really that year were Ron Hansen was on that card, on a rookie card. Carl Yastrzemski, because Yaz and I played against each other in a AAA ball a bit in 60, and Yaz was about that time too.
The 0-2 to Descalso nearly hits him. Well, we've mentioned this before on regular season telecasts, but perhaps some watching today are unaware of it. Your career began in 1959 in the major leagues and extended into the mid-80s. You faced Ted Williams, whose career began in the late 1930s. You also faced Julio Franco, who was in the big leagues as late as 2005. That encompasses more than half of the modern history of the game.
I've been very fortunate, 55 years being able to be a part of this game, and I think the longevity factor means you're left-handed and you could throw it over with somewhat regularity. That'll buy you a lot of years.
Daniel Descalso not so fortunate against Drew Storen, a strikeout victim. And here comes Kozma. He has only 1 hit, but it was the game's biggest.
Boy, was it ever. And as Mike Matheny said, when Furcal went down, what were they going to do? They thought they'd play musical chairs. This kid comes up from the minor leagues and plays like a star.
Well, they waited 79 years for a postseason baseball game in the nation's capital. It isn't turning out all that well, but they have another chance tomorrow, which they hope will lead to yet another chance in Game 5. This one is shot into right, but right at Jason Worth. So Kozma's retired, and so too are the Cardinals in the 9th, but they're up 8 as the Nats come up for their last legs. Our notable performance is presented by the Samsung Galaxy Note 10.1. The player of the game is Chris Carpenter. He has had more overpowering performances, but when you throw in his 2 base hits, a single and a ringing double off the wall and left, and the fact that when he left, they hadn't scored, and they still haven't scored since. 5 2/3 shutout innings. He'll take it. The Cardinals will take it. He's the player of the game.
Yeah, he deserves it. As he told Mike Matheny, as Sam Ryan reported how quickly he started throwing, he told Mike Matheny, don't count me out of this year if we get there. Don't count me out of the postseason. And even though you look at his line, 5 2/3 innings, Joe Kelly, well, there's the changes. We'll get into that.
Chris Carpenter, player of the game. Matt Carpenter, the new 3rd baseman, giving David Freese a half inning off. Joe Kelly comes on, and Kelly was really an important part of this Cardinals season as a stopgap starter when Jaime Garcia was hurt, and as a long relief man. Now that Garcia is on the shelf, we asked Matheny before the game whether he'd go back to Lance Lynn, who made the All-Star team as a starter and won 17 games this year and then wound up in the bullpen. And Matheny's answer was good chance. I'm pretty sure it will be Lynn if they advance past this round, that is, to the LCS. But if it isn't, Joe Kelly would be the other candidate.
You're talking about Carpenter's performance. When you look at 5 2/3 innings, no runs, you'd think, well, that was a pretty clean game. I mean, he had to work out of jams those first 2 innings. Adam LaRoche up 2 on after the Kozma era. This game could have gone either way the first few innings.
Kelly disposes of Suzuki for the first out of the 9th. Let's check with Greg.
Bob, thanks. A Geico update from Cincinnati. Todd Frazier up with the bases loaded in the 1st, and the Reds answer Angel Pagan's leadoff home run. They score 1. Zito did get out of the inning, giving up just the 1 run. Again, Frazier starting in place of Scott Rowland. Bob, Jim, back to you.
All right, Greg, thanks. Chad Tracy comes off the bench. Spent last year with the Hiroshima Carp in Japan. Had his best year with Arizona back in 2005. 27 homers while batting .308 for the D-backs. And you see what he did this year for Davey Johnson's Nats.
Good veteran pinch hitter.
Joe Kelly trying to put the finishing touches on this one for the Cardinals, and if it happens, Chris Carpenter will become only the 2nd man in history to start and win a postseason game after notching no victories during the regular season. Now, in Carpenter's case, it was because he was injured, had surgery, and had only 3 late September starts. The first one, Virgil Trucks.
Fired Trucks.
Yep, Virgil fired
Double
Trucks.
no-hit, Virgil Trucks.
Threw 2 no-hitters in a single season.
Yes, he did.
In the 50s, but this came in 1945 for the Tigers. He was discharged after a 2-year stint in the Navy during World War II. Came back in time to win Game 2 of the '45 World Series against the Cubs. Carpenter just in the game. Nice play and across the diamond to retire the pinch hitter Tracy.
Oh, that's always fun. You get to go in and play an inning, and they hit the ball. You get a little love on national TV and show what you can do. Virgil fired Trucks. Yeah, he pitched 2 in 1 year. 2 no-hitters. There's a nice backhand stop, strong throw by Carpenter.
How about that? Cashes in his Sailors uniform, dons the Tiger uniform for the World Series, no less.
Yeah.
And wins Game 2 of the Fall Classic. Here's Worth. 1 for 3 with a walk.
Well, this will be an interesting game to watch tomorrow. An interesting challenge, as you see what Bob was referring to. Never won a game during the year. Virgil Fire Trucks did the same thing.
Gallardo did not win his game, however, did start the game. So the only two to notch a postseason victory after not doing so during the regular season, Virgil Trucks, and in one more out, Chris Carpenter.
Boy, they just keep coming out of the bullpen with good arms. Good arms, good stuff. Rosenthal, Salas, now Kelly.
Tomorrow's game starting just after 4 o'clock Eastern time. Kyle Loesch versus Ross Detweiler, who likely grew up a Cardinal fan. He's from Wentzville, Missouri. Even if he wins the Cy Young, he can only be the second most famous man from Wentzville, because that's Chuck Berry's hometown.
Ooh. Well, I think tomorrow, just to handicap tomorrow's game, and you can never predict, but to me, the early part of that game is so critical. These fans been waiting, as you said, 79 years. If the Cardinals jump off to a good start and get this crowd, you know, keep them quiet, it's going to be very tough, I think, for the Nationals to come back. However, if they come out and do just the opposite, that's going to give them a little enthusiasm and hope to maybe carry them through. And then they say, look, we got Gio Gonzalez going in game 5.
On the other hand, if it doesn't happen that way, you play 162, you win 98 of them, and almost in the blink of an eye, it can all slip away. Short series, kind of a wide open tournament. Once you get in, everybody's got a chance. Did that clip him? Well, it doesn't matter. It was ball 4. That's what happens with 2 outs in the 9th in an 8-0 game. You kind of lose track of the count. So whether it hit him or not, it's immaterial. He's at first base.
I can relate to what you're talking about, because even before playoffs, you know, in 1967, maybe one of the best pennant races, if not the best ever, when the Red Sox beat us on the last day, the last 2 days actually, with the Twins. Tigers and White Sox were still in it the last week. You know, there we are, last day of the season. You battle all year, 1 game, you go home. There weren't any wild card or playoffs. And ball players understand that.
So with Worth reaching, it gives Harper 1 more chance. Hitless 0 for 4. And in the series, 1 for 14. Kelly's 0-1 pitch is hit solidly to center, but Jay right in his tracks takes it to put the finishing touches on an 8-0 Cardinal win that puts them within 1 win of the NLCS.
And all happened in the early innings. This game was determined in the early innings when Chris Carpenter pitched out of jams, and Edwin Jackson did not find his stuff, his control, and Alan Craig, Freese, Kozma, they all cashed it in, gave Carpenter and the Cardinals an early enough cushion that Washington could never get back in the game, even though they had a lot of chances, a lot of base runners.
Weight of the baseball world's shoulders on young Ross Detweiler tomorrow.
No question.
Against the team he rooted for as a kid, the Cardinals, trying to keep his Nationals alive and force it to a game 5, in which case Wainwright and Gonzalez would hook up again.
What a remarkable story when you think of it. 5 2/3 innings, you say no big deal, but here's a guy who had this surgery that Sam Ryan explained, got a rib taken out, had 2 muscles in his neck. I mean, I don't think anybody gave him too much chance of even pitching this year. And from the inspiration he got from left-hander Matt Harrison of the Rangers, who came back from it, he began to throw, get ready, tells Mike Matheny, don't count me out. And here he puts the Cardinals 1 game away from once again going to the championship series.
And Sam Ryan is with Chris Carpenter.
Chris Carpenter, your first win after what was supposed to be season-ending surgery. 25 pitches in the first inning. I know you didn't have the inning under your belt, only 17. How did you get through this one?
Yeah, it was just a constant grind. They put some good at-bats on me. They got my pitch count up, but I was able to make pitches when I had to. And it is what it is. You come into this situation in the postseason, you just give it all you got as long as you can go, and then you throw it over to the bullpen, and they've done a great job too.
Beneficiary of many fly ball outs. Michael Morse, the key out to end the fifth, the bottom of the fifth, with the bases loaded. What was your approach there?
Well, to be honest with you, I went into the meeting early on that I wasn't going to let Adam LaRoche hurt me. He's one of the most underrated players in the game, and he's also put, since I started over here in the National League, and every time I faced him, he's put some great at-bats on me, and he's a tough out for me, and there was in no way was I going to let him hurt me, and so I went into that at-bat saying, okay, you know what, if he walks, he walks. If not, I'll get him out some other way. But fortunately, Michael Morse comes up, and I had the ability to make some pitches and get him out.
And you had some fun in the batter's box. We saw you smiling. 2 hits. You've had 2-hit games before, but never in the postseason. With that double off the wall, were you thinking home run?
I felt when I hit it, I knew I hit it good, but I knew it was a little low. So. But it's just fun to go up there and compete and be able to. I mean, I'm really not that good of a hitter. I just was fortunate today that I found the barrel a couple times.
As cliche as this may sound, how crucial is this to win this one and to do it here?
Well, there's no question it's a big game, but every game's a big game. We say that every day. It's 2-1. We need to come out tomorrow and be ready to play. We're confident in Kyle Loesch. We're confident in our team, and we'll see what happens.
Chris Carpenter, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to you.
Well, I think in Chris Carpenter's case, that kind of describes what Jim Palmer pitched like. He didn't want to give up the grand slam. He didn't want to give up the big home run. He'd take his chances on walking a guy pitching around, even if it only meant giving up 1 run. And that's where he won the game, with that kind of thinking and that kind of pitching in the early innings.
The last time fans filed out of a postseason game in Washington, it was Griffith Stadium. It was Game 5 of the World Series in 1933. Carl Hubbell, Mel Ott, Bill Terry, and the New York Giants had finished off the Senators of Joe Cronin, Goose Goslin, Sam Rice, and Heine Manouche. But maybe that's enough minutia for one day.
Right.
Nonetheless, same kind of result today when postseason play resumes after almost 80 years. The difference is this doesn't finish the Nats, but it does push them to the brink. They've got to win back-to-back games against the Cardinals, or a great season in the nation's capital will come to an abrupt end. MLB Tonight is coming up next, reviewing this game and checking in on the Reds and the Giants and the other games, Yankees and Orioles, Tigers and A's, still to come on a big day of postseason baseball. Kitty, it was fun. Thanks very much.
Yes.
For Sam Bryant and Jim Cott, I'm Bob Costas. So long from D.C.
21. Stand by, Jim. All right, guys, clear with that. Hold your shadow, too.
Spot 1 in. Animated.